This may be our last mission. Let's make it count.
Oh, welcome everyone to the late game episode 36. My name is Lycan, and with me today I have Destiny, Graham, Rifkin, Jack Attack, and In Control. We're here to talk about your favorite game in the whole wide world, StarCraft. Today's topics will include the WCS groups, matches to watch, things to look out for, Trick 2G, faking a swatting incident, Aces Rogue. We'll talk about how Huck is just catching on as really awesome caster, and then the games as well. We'll talk about Allied Commanders. We are under NDA, so there's still certain things we can't talk about. Yes, I had to bring up the NDA, but they showed a lot of stuff, so we get to talk about the gameplay, which is the biggest part of Allied Commanders. Then we're going to talk Adderall and esports with the ESL's new movement against drugs and performance-enhancing drugs in esports. And we'll talk about some other stuff, and then we'll call it a day. So first, let's do our rounds and see how people are doing. Graham, how are you doing, buddy? Yeah? What rank are you? Archon. Nice. So I know that everyone, like, I'm not even going to say who the player is because apparently he's been doing some really bad shit. But I had a Korean carry me to platinum yesterday. We went all 5-0, and I just got platinum Archon. So I didn't have to work for it at all. They are because hold on one second. All 5-0. No, I'm not muted. Fuck you all. Anyway, Jack Attack, how you doing, buddy? Okay, hold on. All right, guys, just so you know, I just right? Damn it. All right. So this is what the pre-show is for, guys. Troubleshooting, Lycan's weekly problems. But no, okay, all right, guys, just so you know, I just well, it's this show. Oh. Oh, ouch, you guys. Ouch. All right, so uh, listen, man. I do it.
I honestly can't tell. I don't know.
I don't know, but I think people are going to be able to hear you now. So let's find out. I'm going to open it up.
I honestly can't tell.
Yeah, boom, there. All right, fixed it.
Yay, we fixed it.
Yay.
You guys didn't do shit.
Hello, I alerted you to the problem. Excuse
Actually,
you.
Graham was the first person who thought about the troubleshooting of having one of us listen to the stream to check to see if you're being trolled or not, so.
Well then, thank you, Graham. Anyway, Jack Attack. Now, Graham, now that people can hear you, we were talking about Archon mode. Thank you. We're glad to have you here. Jack Attack, how you doing?
Fucking great, man. StarCraft is moving forward in a fantastic direction, and lots of discussion is being discussed in various levels of constructiveness, and I'm looking forward to abnormally constructive discussion today.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. One topic we didn't mention, one of the main reasons we brought Jack Attack on, actually, and it wasn't announced, is we're going to get into the macro mechanics discussion. That's actually where we're going to kick things off today. So really happy to have Jack Attack here. Jeff, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. I unfortunately have a little bit of a headache right now, but it's not the end of the world. And I'm about to leave for England tomorrow, and I'm a little bit sad because my travel is never just like once a month. It's always just fucking... It's like, I don't wear pants when I'm at home, so I won't wear pants for like a whole month, and I'm like, oh, wow, I've got the life. I'm doing so good. And then, you know, and this is like, by the way, guys, first world problems up to wazoo, so don't think I'm sitting here, like, complaining about something super legitimate, but, like, then for whatever reason, my gigs will be weekend. It's like 4 in a row, and it's never just a weekend. It's the 2 or 3 days before and stuff like that. So I've got like the pre-month of travel depression going on, where I'm looking around and I'm like, I like my desk and I like my chair.
Are you doing Gfinity?
Am I doing Gfinity? Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Going to England tomorrow for that. Then I have something next week that I'll be at, and then the thing is too, I do this to myself. Like I'm going to go hang out with my friends in San Diego in 2 weeks. Like I'm driving down for a Warhammer thing, but it's like, oh gosh, gotta go to San Diego. You know, it's just very minor complaints. I'm fine, but the really important news, and really the whole reason we're all here, is next Tuesday I'll probably be getting my Warlord Titan, which just has me. It's got me happy. It's got me super happy, and I can't wait to hold it forever.
Yeah, I was gonna actually.
Is this like a really big? Is this like a really big?
23 inches tall, Steven, 50 pounds of resin beauty.
Is it actually like a playable piece, or is it just?
It
like
is. But for example, like every tournament game I've ever played is 1,850 points, so that's what you use to construct your army. That single model is 2,750 points. So when people are like, "Is it playable?" I'm like, "Yeah, it totally is." But I've, in 17 years of playing, never played a game that big. But there are games that big. Once I have that model, you bet your fucking ass I'll be playing some games that big.
Well, I imagine it's just like the fucking cool factor too, right? Like...
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I will show it off to everyone, and I know nobody. Well, 3% of people will give a rat's ass, but as far as models go, it looks absolutely amazing. You guys will think it looks cool.
All right,
but
so
yeah, that's my first world complaints, and my privileged middle class white person excited about a giant model that's overly priced.
All right, I ask you a question about this thing every week, so I have a new question.
Mm-hmm.
When you're playing a game, is it like Magic the Gathering where you just pull out a card when you're going to use it, so you just turn to the side and say, "I play this fucker," and slam him down on the desk, or?
No, the best way to think about it is like, it's like think about like a squad-based RTS where you can't make new units necessarily, even though that is technically something you can do in the game. But you don't have a base. You just have a starting location, and every table is different. Like you interact with the terrain.
Mm-hmm.
You interact with on turn 1 there can be nighttime, which gives a certain level of cover save. Like there's so many rules and so many nuances to it that it's. For me as an RTS player, it's like a dream because it's the most complex, whereas like StarCraft is physical speed with your hands, this game is like mental speed and memory with you. So the better you are, the more you've practiced and the more you know. But no, there are cards, there's psychic powers and stuff like that, but they're not so random as like, I drew this one and this is what it does. It's more like, I did randomly generate this power within reason off a table of 6, and then it takes this to cast it and has this effect on your guys, and you have this defense against it.
So if you're going to play Warlord Titan in a game, people know it's on the battlefield.
Yeah, the other thing too, though, is like, so in a tournament, you like part of the etiquette of the game is you hand someone a list at the beginning of the game, and you say, "Here's my list," and then everyone has questions because there's like 13 or 15 races at this point, and inside of those races. There's formations, factions, detachments. There's special characters that can be allied to this faction. Like the complication and complexity is through the roof. So not everyone knows everything, and that's kind of a fun thing. But some people know more. So there's no secret unit at all. But there's different ways for that unit to enter into the game or start on the game and that kind of stuff. So the etiquette is you explain it pretty well to each other at a tournament, and then the surprise comes when they don't know exactly how it interacts with everybody else.
Cool. All right, last but not least, Destiny, how are you?
I'm great, buddy.
Good. Always so simple with you. I like it. One other thing, if you want to post questions and you want them read, you can post them here. I learned a lesson last week that the lower we get into that question thread, the shittier the questions get. So vote on the questions you like, and
is that how Reddit works? I had no idea.
No, that's not how it works at all.
And then post the questions that post them now so they can get some votes for me to address them. Anyway, let's kick this off. Enough dilly-dallying with the pre-show. Jack Attack,
Hello.
Jeff, Graham. I'm just saying your names because I forgot where I was going. So we're going to talk about the macro mechanics. If you don't know what is happening, Blizzard is proposing the change of removing injects, nerfing the mule.
Casting in checks.
Oh, is it just autocast? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
autocast injects, nerfing the mule, and then increasing the energy cost of Chrono Boost. Now, I'm going to send this to Jack Attack first because I know this is something that he's just been balls deep in for since the announcement came out.
Super balls deep.
Let's see. I actually want to ask Jeff a question. When it comes
Do
to
it.
these, when it comes to these mechanics that they're talking about, these specific ones, when you see the suggestions they have made, do you think that still maintains asymmetric balance for the economies of each race and how they'll play with each other?
No, I think they're fairly apples to oranges. Like I feel like the idea of calling them macro mechanics and then just lumping them into the exact same category is a little bit it's simplifying things by quite a bit. I absolutely agree that it is taxing to Zerg players in particular to manage their queens, to have those injects on point. It has a pretty direct hit to the Zerg player itself. The really good Zerg players always have like that magical plus 15 units that we're like, where the fuck did those guys come from? And it's because they're really on top of their macro mechanic. Whereas for Terran and for Protoss in particular, it's a lot more forgiving and it's a lot more, I don't want to say explosive because obviously Inject has its own explosive production quality, but if you like skip beats with Inject, that's like actually affecting you over time. Whereas with Protoss, unless you hit 200 energy or Terran, you hit 200 energy, which almost never happens at a competitive level until like much later in the game, I guess. There's always going to be that like, oh god, well I forgot, I have 3 meals. Let's drop those 3 meals, and then all of a sudden your economy explodes as long as the base isn't overly saturated. And for Protoss, it's a little bit more important earlier on in the game, but as it goes on, that too is like an afterthought kind of, well, I've got 4 Nexus, like 3 of them are in full energy and 1's close to it. I just made a round of Adepts or Zealots, what have you. I'll just spam it through my gateways because I've got all my upgrades already good to go. I do think that they have a place in the game. Like call down supply is one of the most overlooked things I think Terran can use. But of course, scan and mules. They're only talking about mules, so I'm not going to get too far off subject. But I do think mules have a place in the game. Are they too strong? I don't know. It's like it's something I guess worth looking at, but I don't think that's at the top of anyone's mind. Like it's more of like a sarcastic afterthought where people are like, "Oh, fucking mules," you know. And there's a couple of stories of Terran players who like got down to 2 or 3 SCVs and clawed their way back in the game because of mules. But it's really not something that is, I don't think anyone's looking at and pointing to as saying this is making the game worse. And then for Protoss, Chrono Boost is a kind of cool mechanic, but a really soft one. Like there's nothing that's like if he hits the Chrono Boost, if he fucking he did it, he hit the Chrono. You know, like there's nobody that's saying that because it doesn't. It's more just like, and I like this comment from actually Noni, who said this in a chat on Team Liquid, who's talking about how like, if anything, it's kind of a cool idea of looking into where the Protoss wants to go with their build and their strategy, and it has a little bit of effect, of course, but that too is a pretty soft impact. So that really, so I look at all this and I'm saying, well, okay, what are they talking about then? And in their language, they want to make the game a little bit more simple, a little bit less taxing on the player. That's really only Inject. That's only Inject they're talking about. So I feel like they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater here. And Inject is something that you definitely could make easier, I guess, but there's actually not really a good fix, at least not the proposed ones. Auto-injecting 2 or 3 larvae, which is what they proposed, to come off that hatchery is insanely powerful, like ridiculously powerful. That's gonna raise the tide of the water for all Zergs quite a bit, and then that saves the energy for the queens to have more transfusions, more tumors, and it's one less task. So, is Zerg suffering so much, especially in Legacy of the Void, that we need to do that? I don't think so. Will it make Zerg players at the lower level better? Yes, it will. I believe it will. So, if that's okay with you on either, like I don't have a strong feeling either way. But that's where it is, I feel.
Okay, so that's a good preface to get us into this topic and where we're going, you know, with these different ideas. Jeff has some pretty well thought out opinions on that. Jack Attack, taking it to you now. What are your thoughts on just the general concept of what has been proposed? So not specifically each race, but what is your thought on the overall concept of changing those mechanics?
Okay, so I want to get some language things out of the way in the beginning so that we're talking about this as constructively as we can. First off, I think that it's making the argument of like, oh, this is making the game easier is not specific enough to be useful. We need to consider is this making the game easier? For who? In what situations does this make the game easier? In what way? Is it an interesting way? Is it not an interesting way? Just saying like, oh, they're dumbing down the game in a general way is not particularly constructive, and I don't think we're going to get anywhere talking about that. The other thing, there's been this sort of miscommunication about macro mechanics, where people will start having arguments about macro mechanics, and they'll start lumping in producing things with producing larvae, with units with larvae, and producing, you know, the Terran macro cycle and all these other things, when really what we're trying to discuss here are three very specific things, which is, you know, chrono boosts, injects, and mules. That's it. That's all we're talking about right now. That's all Blizzard is considering changing. So going into the slippery slope of, oh my god, everything's going to be automatic and we're going to be playing Desert Strike, is not particularly useful to talk about. So as far as balance is concerned, I'm not really qualified to talk about balance. I don't ever really talk about balance. I'm not really interested in balance. At this point in time, I'm more interested in making the game engaging and enjoyable, and thinking about those kind of ideas. So to do that, I think that the best way to do it is to consider, where were we in Brood War? You had to box your worker every 17 seconds, and then they introduced auto mine and multiple building select, along with a number of things, to the outrage of many players. And Blizzard introduced, like, the reason why these macro mechanics are in the game is because Blizzard introduced them as a sort of, okay, we need players to look back at their base. That's sort of the central focus of, or function of, macro mechanics, is to give players a reason to look back at their base, because that forces the multitasking and the sort of unique, you know, sort of feel to playing StarCraft. And I think a lot of RTS, but mostly StarCraft, right? And then Chrono Boost was one of these things, right, where initially it was called the Dark Pylon, or the Obelisk, and all that it did was do this massive AoE. It had two other abilities that weren't involved with macro, but it had this massive AoE that would make workers mine 1 mineral extra per trip. And right before we hit beta, that was in the alpha, right before we hit beta, the Dark Pylon, or the Obelisk, was changed into Chrono Boost. I think that Chrono Boost is probably, out of all three of these things, one of the coolest macro mechanics, because it's a decision. There's a decision there, and it's a more complex decision than, where do I spend my time, or where do I use my attention, because that is involved with all macro mechanics. Macro mechanics are, again, a reason for you to look back at your base, and there's lots of reasons for that. So with Chrono Boost, it's sort of like, first of all, it's visual, you can see it, it's scoutable, so your opponent can react to it, and it creates these interesting interactions, and you choose what's going on, at least in the beginning of the game. Like Jeff was saying before, when it gets towards the end, you're just like banking up tons of them. You're like, all right, well, I just produced, I guess I'll Chrono Boost a bunch of things. So, you know, maybe there's some changes there that could be better. The idea of Chrono Boosting less often and having more of an impact, maybe that'll be a nice thing. But I think, again, like Jeff said, it's about inject more than it's about anything else. A big part of the discussion is about inject, because inject, and this is generally agreed upon, is the least decision-making out of the three. And there's almost no decision-making. If you have a queen that has energy next to a hatchery that's not injected, you pretty much inject it, or you're going to fall behind. So I think that the discussion should be framed around the idea that, what can we do to give players a reason to look back at their base that has interesting decision-making involved in it, and isn't this rote thing? I think that the inject is very, very analogous to the box your worker and send it to mine, box your worker and send it to mine, much, much more so than the Chrono Boost is. And the mule is kind of like an in-between thing. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
So if we look at the inject, and this is my opinion on this situation, there is a reward. If you look at the TVZ matchup, there is a reward for what you can do early game that takes the Zerg's focus away from managing his economy to handle whatever you're doing. So if you decide you're going to put on early pressure, right, you sacrifice your economy, you don't go for 3 bases, you get some early units, and you're going to go play, you know, the game against the Zerg, trying to get some drone kills, whatever. He gets distracted. He screws up his injects. That then affects how many drones he can produce. That affects how many more units he can produce to defend you. So you get a reward by forcing him to not be able to maintain that. But the skilled Zerg is able to maintain those injects, and then he is rewarded for maintaining that skill. I see that's the correlation between, if you look at the macro. Jeff, you have a thought on that?
Yeah, I think what's hard for Zergs, though, is that it's not just inject. Like, inject is incredibly important, but I would, and it would take a, I don't know, this is obviously arguable, but spreading your creep is like just as important to be a good Zerg in many ways. So it's like a really tough situation where I feel like if you do oversimplify one way or the other, the Zerg gets a lot better, but at the same time, I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing for Zerg, because as it is, they definitely, everyone would agree with this, are the most busy race of the game by a lot, and it's really hard for those low-level players, and the really good players make it look amazing.
And I think that creep is not being brought up at all in this because creep is probably the coolest fucking macro mechanic that Blizzard has ever come up with. It's awesome because you're syncing APM and looking away from the battle for a spatial advantage, which is not, you're not like looking away from the battle for an advantage so that you can have more stuff than your opponent, which I think is the least interesting advantage. Where Chrono Boost, it's a time advantage where you get things faster, and that involves planning, and that involves making things hit in a certain time. And that's something kind of that StarCraft 2 utilizes more than pretty much any other game. Like, you can talk about timing attacks in a MOBA, like, oh, check it out, we're playing Heroes of the Storm. We hit 10 before they hit 10, so we have a timing attack. It's really, really weak version. StarCraft has this, like, amazing, fantastic, like, ability to manipulate time and space. That is, like, the job of a StarCrafter, is to manipulate time and space. And it's sort of like having this spatial APM sync that gives you an advantage on certain positions in the map and also gives you vision is so cool. And it's awesome and visual to spectators too, because they can see, oh my god, the Zerg is playing really well. Look at how like overgrown the map is with their creep. And I mean, even on top of that, it sort of feeds this like, I don't know, sort of fantasy of the Zerg of like taking over.
All right, so
in
let's
a certain area, you know?
Let's pull back to Inject. Destiny, you had a thought a second ago. There was like you and Jeff at the same time.
Yeah, so one of the things that for Jack Attack, one of the ways that you're looking at this is in terms of like decision making and all of that, which is a valid way to look at some things that go into the game. But injecting could just serve to be a simple mechanics check, which exists in some things. When people talk about things like Brood War, or people talk about things like StarCraft 2, and you compare differences between the game and whatnot, I know that this argument got brought up a lot when you talked about multiple building select. Resources in the game, time is supposed to be viewed as a type of resource. If you have your screen, like, why can't you zoom out and look at everything, right? Well, if your screen is on one thing, it's not necessarily on another thing. So I think that looking at injecting is a bad thing simply because there's not like a decision to make there, which I agree, there's not much decision making there. And then looking at it as a bad thing only because of that, I feel like that doesn't really, it's not really what injecting is about. Like, it's not supposed to be there as a decision maker. It's more just like a mechanics check, you know, like, are your mechanics good? Well, then you get this advantage, and if not, then you get cards.
The thing is, though, like, that's like true of every single macro mechanic. It's a reason to look back at your base. It's a taxing on your attention, so you can't look at it. Is there not a more interesting replacement for inject?
Well, first of all, that statement, that's not really true at all. If you miss, this might sound balanced whiny, but I don't think it is. Actually, Jeff brought this up already. Terran can be a little bit lax on mules and then take a new base and drop a fuck ton of mules and be okay, right? There is an opportunity cost to not getting those resources earlier, of course, right? Like, you don't get to do that for free. Like, that does hurt. But you don't get punished anywhere near as hard as like a Zerg player would get punished, you know, for missing injects, which can cost will cost you the game if you miss injects. So I don't agree that all the macro mechanics necessarily serve the same purpose there. And like
no,
said,
that's not what I was saying, that they're all the same in purpose. I'm just saying that's their commonality in that they make you look away. They're all macro mechanics are a drain on your attention resource. So why can we not have a Zerg macro mechanic that has a drain on your attention resource, just like the other macro mechanics do, like creep, but it's more interesting decision. It gives the player agency and allows them to sort of give them more options and have more control over their experience, rather than like, this is something I have to do. There's no other way about it. It's just, I just have to inject, which from a player perspective, I don't think is particularly engaging.
I mean, it's not engaging. We're getting into like, we're getting into super abstract stuff now, because now you're talking about moving StarCraft away. We're moving it away from a game that's heavily centered in mechanics, which it is right now, right? StarCraft is very heavily centered in mechanics. into
Sure.
more of a strategy game, and to do something like to take something like injecting and then to get rid of that and then turn that into something that introduces agency or gives you options or whatever. You're kind of like I feel like at that point you're completely repurposing what injecting is, which is just a mechanics check. It's like throwing a free throw in basketball, right? Like those are pretty boring. Like you throw it and you either make it or you don't. Like there's no decision there. The basketball player doesn't have to choose like, am I going to make this free throw or am I going to miss it? Like you shoot and you hope you hit it. But like no one would ever talk about like we need to get rid of free throws because they're boring or they don't present agency. Well, no, it's a mechanics check. Like if you make free throws, you've got really good history of shooting free throws. Like that's hype as fuck when you get a good player who's fouled and he's getting ready to shoot and he's fucking 75% or whatever. I don't know the fucking NBA stats and shit, but like it's just like a mechanics check. Like or like kicking field goals in football or whatever. It's just a mechanics check more or less. I don't necessarily agree that we have to like get rid of every single mechanics check to try to turn it into like some kind of decision. Like I already feel like we've kind of gone too far down that route because people are complaining about like, well, now every single new unit is a spellcaster, and I feel like I'm playing like a huge MOBA where every unit is like a hero, and I've got like Ravager spells and Disruptor spells and Liberator Siege mode and like all this crazy shit,
I totally agree, but the thing is, there's a difference between something that's non-value adding and necessary, like a free throw. The reason why free throw exists in basketball is a check on players being too aggressive and injuring other players and knocking other players down to give them, sort of an advantage of the game. You don't want to promote that play style where it's just sort of like, oh, this guy is definitely going to hit the shot. Knock him the fuck out. There's no disadvantage to it, right? So that's like a necessary thing. I don't feel that inject is a necessary part of the play experience for a Zerg player. Maybe for balance, but design-wise, I don't think it is.
I mean, if you get rid of inject, I feel like you have to change. I feel like you have to go back to the drawing board to balance some things out. Because there are some things like the Stefano Roach max, right? Like there are strategies that are built around you being able to execute builds perfectly. And if you can't do it, then you can't do the build. And so like to get rid of injecting completely and to give everybody perfect injects, like that changes so much of the balance. Like there are things like all of a sudden, I don't care about any Terran opener anymore. Like, if I can dedicate 100% of my attention to defending against the opener, like, I'm never going to miss an inject with Reapers or Hellions fucking me. Or I guess it's Hellbots these days, right? But, like, it's a lot different than it used to be, I guess, right? Where it used to be, like, you'd have the Hellion openings or the Banshees coming in and you try to fuck with the Zerg and you try to throw them off their macro. Well, now you can never throw me off and I'm not getting checked to see if I can keep, can I keep up with injecting and defending at the same time? Well, that's not a question anymore. Now I just have to defend,
I totally agree. I don't think that the movement of like, okay, let's just get rid of injects completely or make it autocast is a nice solution. I think there may be better solutions, and the discussion in the community should be focused on what's a more interesting replacement for inject rather than like, okay,
so let's talk about
so everyone can inject easily.
Let's talk about why Blizzard is doing this, right? One of the things they are trying to address is the idea that Legacy of the Void is really hard to play. You talk about all the active abilities that all these different units have. You talk about just a fast pace of the game, expanding, attacking. As David Kim said, one of the pillars of Legacy of the Void is constant action. So with that, it's a very difficult game, and everyone from the Korean pros to the foreign pros has said Legacy of the Void is very hard. It's going to be hard for new players and things like that. So I think what they're trying to do with this is they're trying to take away the things that they believe can be automated or that can be affected so that you're not paying as much attention to those specifics. So we're not talking all macro mechanics, we're talking just a few, but that would allow you to spend a little more time focusing on your units. So as Jack Attack's saying, it's not necessarily we're going to do X, Y, and Z and that's it. Like, so they've given 2 suggestions, but they might not be the suggestions they go for in the future.
All of these, this is like a totally valid thing to go down, but it's just at this point you really are fundamentally off changing the game. I don't know if some people don't want to see it or don't understand it, but StarCraft 2 is a mechanics game first, and always has been in Brood War as well.
It's more so in Brood War.
Definitely more so in Brood War. You have to have the mechanics in order to do it. If you don't, then it's not everything else. Nothing else in the game matters. If you don't have the mechanics to execute, and I guess to fucking go back to basketball, it would be like trying to teach somebody how to play basketball who doesn't have arms or doesn't have the upper body strength to actually throw the basketball high enough to get it in the hoop. At that point, how do you even teach that player? So we're talking about to follow it to its extreme absurdity, right? To lower the hoop, I guess, to make it so that everybody can play. But you're looking at like a fundamentally different game at this point. When you start talking about like we need to get rid of all these extra actions and we need to make it so you just have to focus on watching your units walk around and the economy manages itself. We've already got drones that run off to mine automatically. That's, you know, that wasn't Brood War. You know, they've got the numbers that appear over the hatchery, so you know when you can stop building drones. The queens and like I just. Again, I'm not trying to like make fun of anybody, but I feel like you're moving off of like what is StarCraft 2 into like a fundamentally different game that is no longer like a real-time strategy game that's supposed to have a heavy mechanics check behind it. Sorry.
I don't disagree with you, and I think the one thing that kind of has to be addressed, and everyone knows this, and it's not a super amazing thing to say, but like the reason the basketball comparison in particular is not super applicable is because basketball is played worldwide by millions of people. It sells, it's doing fine. Whereas with StarCraft, on some level, they have to identify that with this playing audience and people today, again, Stephen, I don't disagree with you. The game should be mechanical. It should be difficult, and I think Blizzard knows that, but they're trying to walk this incredibly weird, nebulous line of, like, it's a really difficult game, but not so difficult that everyone could play it if they wanted to, you know? So, like, I think they're looking for little places where, like, they identify that perhaps this is turning off, in particular, the newbies, and this would be good for them because then they'd be able to focus on things like in Blizzard's dream world. I imagine, I don't work at Blizzard, I don't know their thoughts, but my imagination is like the mundane, the stuff that's not flashy. That we StarCraft geeks are like, fucking, that's incredible because he's doing that and the fun stuff. But for everyone else is like, where's the kicking button? You know, like they're yelling. It's like get rid of or minimize the mundane and then exemplify and glorify the more electric stuff like the actual battle that's going on and stuff like that. So again, I want to clarify, I don't disagree with you, but I think that's the line Blizzard's trying to walk. So they look at Inject and they say, this is a place we could simplify so that players can get their actions spent on the more exciting stuff.
Steven, so with what Jeff is saying, so just conceptually, right? So we're not talking Mule, Inject, Chrono, but just saying conceptually, do you see that StarCraft 2 has places where we can make that Blizzard can make these kind of changes and not ruin the fundamentals of StarCraft?
They kind of already have. I know it's not my turn to talk, but like,
no, yeah, go ahead.
Get in, man. Get in. This Rifkin. Mix it up.
Like, fucking cutting everybody off once again.
Let Morrow talk.
So the Rifkin show, he hasn't shut up once this whole time. Good God.
So, like, Blizzard's got this really cool thing called Archon mode they're coming out with, right? And like, we're kind of like, In Control just brought up the whole point of bridging for newbies a little bit, and I kind of feel like that's what that sets the pace for. Like, you've got a buddy to help you learn the game, like side by side, or like it brings coaching to new levels, or whatever the case may be. Hey, literally watch me play first person point of view. But like, I also feel like with high level Archon mode, as well as like the newbie introduction levels, if you cut out a lot of these macro mechanics or make them too easy, like then what's the second person doing in an Archon mode, right? Like, I really love the way 1v1's competitive and difficult, but like if you got someone who doesn't need to macro, then like you're just both microing in an Archon mode and it's stupid. And I feel like the newbie introduction level is cool. I feel like there's this high level 2. If they want to tweak it, I just feel like a lot of the discussion tends to be like making it too easy. And I'm actually just worried, like, I'm not even talking about specifically Injects or Mules or Chrono. I just hope that whatever they do, they don't overdo it, because like StarCraft 2 is pretty damn good as is. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's already pretty good.
And I don't even think like I understand the line of thought there. Because I'm not completely stupid. I understand what you're saying in terms of like, well, if we make it a little bit easier but not too easy, like what Jeff said, right? They're walking the line of, well, StarCraft 2 is too difficult right now. We need to make it easy, but not so easy that people accuse us of being, you know, a MOBA or League of Legends, or whatever, right? Whatever the meme joke is, right? But at the same time, like I feel like you could actually enter the proverbial slippery slope where it's like, okay, well, now no one has to pay attention to Injects. Well, this is fucking bullshit. This guy's so good. He's perfectly fucking microing his roaches against me. Or he perfectly blinks stalkers. Why can't there be an option where I can right-click on my stalker when it falls with 20 HP just to have it blink back? Like, why couldn't I have something like that? Like, it's just pointing and clicking and just blinking him back. Like, this is stupid. That just because this guy can click and blink faster than me, now all of a sudden he beats me every game? Like, that's bullshit. You know, like, I feel like you could start to get into that kind of a world.
Yeah.
Well, I think that there's a difference between the interface basically getting in your way between what it is you want to do. Like, for example, you said clicking and blinking, that's like 3 actions, right? You click the stalker, you press the button to blink, and then you click on the ground somewhere else. Turning that from 3 actions into 1 action would like turn down the mechanical cost of doing a blink, right? But blinking is about the decision, I think, a lot of when to blink. Are you blinking in groups? Are you blinking one at a time? Where are you blinking?
No,
All that
we're
kind
not
of
doing
stuff.
this. No, blinking is a very, very, very straightforward. Blinking is a pure mechanics check, I think.
You don't think there's any positional element at all in blinking?
No, I think it's a pure... I mean, like, maybe if you're doing, like, harassing, like, up and down a cliff, sure. But in terms of, like, when you're actually microing in a fight, it's just... Blinking is only a mechanics check. You're just blinking back, so that they're no longer taking aggro on the front line. Right? Jeff, do you disagree with that, or...?
I wouldn't be so
I'm not trying to say, like...
There's offensive blink forwards, there's...
Yeah, sure. Yeah, to some extent. Like, if
for
you're
the
blinking,
most part, yes.
to, like... Yeah, for the most part,
sure.
it's just a mechanics check, yeah.
Sure. For the most part.
Yeah, that's how I would feel as well.
Let's not spend too much time on this, though, because I think...
Yeah, no, I agree. So we might revisit this, but I think overall, final thoughts. Oh, actually, one thing I want to say, and if our boy is watching right now, I would think it would be really cool if Gameheart would detect the first time a queen makes an inject on a hatchery, right? And then something that could be brought up is, when the worker kill thing comes up on the side and says, X number of workers were just killed, something popped up and said, hey, a hatchery just went uninjected for 30 seconds or went uninjected for a minute, because that amount of time, that adds up. It's a big deal, and I think it could add, Rifkin, maybe you can comment on this. I feel like that could add a dynamic to the viewer experience.
Guys, jump in real quick.
Yeah.
Is that the worst idea, or is it just like, is it top 5 one of the worst ideas, do we think?
To give it a serious answer, though, like, it's worth
you don't want a built-in UI mechanic to count mistakes in a game. You don't want the pro gamers to look worse than they are.
I think it was just saying for, like, Gameheart as, like, a metric to keep track of.
Just like really quick, I think that having a metric of inject percentage would be really, really good at the end of a score screen, so players can see how well they're injecting.
No!
But
God
not like
damn it,
fucking...
you guys.
This is the that's not the worst idea. It's not the worst idea I've ever heard, okay? It's not the worst idea.
You want a desk of casters at the end of the game to be like, well, guys, thanks to this Gameheart counting mechanic, we can tell that Stefano actually missed 13.5 injects, which is up from the 12.5 he did the game before. Is it time for him to retire? Like, the discussion... The fucking just like, well, obviously he's not.
No, but
oh my
all right,
God,
but
it's so bad.
But what I was talking about earlier, the TVZ matchup, right? You have the Terran harassing the Zerg, and you see, look, this is affecting the player in X, Y, and Z way. You see, he's missing injects, he's not making units, blah blah blah.
From a full production perspective, you do not count the mistakes on a UI base that a pro gamer is making. Try like you sell them as good players, not really bad.
You kind of do that on, like, in MOBAs to some extent. People track, like, who does the most damage on a team, or, like, who's missed CS or whatever. Like...
Yes, Steven, but not worse. They don't take the you can deduct that.
Well, but I mean, players will do it. Like, I saw an argument in the league subreddit the other day who was like, I think it was TSM, like, this guy does a higher percentage than any other blah, blah, blah. Why is he carrying the team, and why does everyone else suck on the team? Because he's doing the most percentage of damage. Like, I feel like people can spin it.
It happens. What I'm telling you is you don't build into the UI multiple occurrences where that happens. Those numbers are to talk about how good someone's doing. If they spin that into who's doing bad, that's fine. But you don't build a mechanic that's like, you know what you should have is a number on the lower right-hand side. If you dip below 100 APM, it gets larger and larger, and then like the guy's like, he's going catatonic. He's literally at 50 APM. This guy's a fucking noob. Just all start yelling at him and shit. Like, no. When APM,
I mean, it already does that when you try to do shit. It's like, you have not enough minerals, not enough minerals, not enough minerals. Like, fuck, I know, holy shit! I just need more roaches, fuck!
The idea of a
game part in a positive way, though.
Oh, God.
Listen, I'm on Team Like It. It's not the worst idea I've ever heard. It's not, okay, I'm partial to Team Jeff. It's a pretty bad idea, but it's not the worst idea I've ever heard, okay?
Okay, wait, hold on. The only thing I want to argue with, is the idea that, like, you sell the players as awesome, right? And I agree, you do. But also, when someone is making them screw up, you point out, hey, look, he's missed, he's supply blocked, he's doing X, Y, and Z wrong because he screwed up.
I can solve the best of both worlds. How about instead, there's a Hearthstone, or no, fucking Hearthstone. There's a Gameheart counter. I've got that Blizzard game fever. There's a Gameheart counter that tracks whenever you play against a Zerg, there's a timer that shows how many seconds of injects you made them miss.
All right, and we are done
Okay.
with the topic. Moving on.
No,
I
shut
am
the fuck
gonna-
up.
and then-
I get to say
I
something on this.
interrupted Ripken like 5 times.
Okay, so first off, clearly, In Control doesn't want people knowing how many times he misses a Chrono Boost. We get it, okay? But secondly, you can absolutely build all of these into Game Heart. You can even have a damage meter in Game Heart. I've looked into this. The problem is it eats up so much space, it would cause the players to lag uncontrollably after 5 minutes. So it's not realistic to implement.
See, there you go, guys. It's a bad idea because of technology not being there, but otherwise.
I wish I could have said that at the
If you
start.
act- but, if you- but that's not even true, because if you broadcast the games on Ding It and you use their
Shut the fuck up.
All right.
Shut the fuck
Moving on. So, if you guys didn't know, if you hadn't heard the news, the streamer Trick2G.
Oh god,
performed-
the next.
Yep, the streamer Trick2G. I don't even know how to say this. He fake swatted himself. For those who don't know what swatting is, it's when a streamer will get. Someone will call a streamer's local police department and say that something extremely bad that would warn a SWAT team is going on, and then live on stream the guy gets busted in on. And Trick2G decided to fake that. He used a member of his production crew, and
Did they actually call police?
no. So it was member of production crew came in with a gun, tackled him, and that was the end of it.
It is really fake vest that said like SWAT police on it and stuff too.
Production crew. He's a huge streamer or something like that?
Yeah, like he's pretty
okay.
big. Oh, and if you didn't hear about this, Trick2G is also the guy that tried to copyright Sub Wars, was it?
Tried to?
Or did?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
It's actually copyrighted?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's fucking stupid.
And he sells the license to like other people.
People bought the license from him?
Yeah, I'm pretty
I
sure
hope
he does. Like,
nobody
he's got a whole
does.
team and whatnot. Yeah, for
Just
doesn't
call
he
it
have, like,
something
a team
else.
where he shares. Well, yeah, maybe he'll. I don't know.
Subscriber wars. Get fucked. Trademarking it.
Yo, I don't know. That stream was so fucking stupid though. Like I saw others he had like fucking girls that I guess they rented or something to just sit in the background the whole time. Some guy came in like a bear
Wait.
costume, like
This guy.
it was supposed to be like some celebration stream or some shit. It was obviously like a big publicity stunt. I can speak, but it just went horribly wrong. And apparently, a lot of rumors are going around. He was banned for like 4 months. He was only banned for like a day, which is kind of
I
stupid.
heard that he was banned for 4 months, but because of the outcry of his fans, it got reduced to 1 day. But I have no valid sources. On.
Either way, like
Anybody-
four months, 1
months
day.
to
Like,
1
that
day?
is- but regardless, like either of those are still like a slap on the wrist considering like what got done there, because it's essentially promoting the use of this to like get views. Like all of
Okay.
a sudden, you want to see more people do it?
Okay.
Years in prison, but with good behavior, we'll get you out of here in a week. All right?
So that's the point I want to. That's where I want the crux of our discussion to be, right? What did he actually do wrong? Because hold on. First of all, he faked it, right? No law enforcement were called, right? Now, maybe Twitch on the back end has some kind of like program where they see people getting swatted. So as soon as they get word of someone getting swatted, they call the local police department like, hey guys, look, it's blah, blah, blah.
No.
No.
No,
Sorry.
so hold on. I'm just theorizing here. I'm trying to think from
Me too.
either they have that or I really can't think from that point on what he did that was bad, because law enforcement don't really get called. No one calls and says, hey, someone just got swatted. The law enforcement's already there, so no kind of emergency services are being disrupted. What does faking it actually do that warrants a ban?
Here's an
Yeah,
example
here's that
of what your
incorrect.
question is. If a guy is snorting fake cocaine on stream, but it's not real cocaine, but he's just snorting cocaine for an entire stream, and you're like, but wait, it's powdered sugar, all right, which is legal, and he's just snorting it up his nose, which is his own like. There is no like explicit law that says "Thus shall not fake their own swatting," but in Twitch bylines, they specifically leave it fairly nebulous so that they can crack down on almost anything that they decide to. And this would be under the, I would imagine what they used is, you're not, like, the streaming is supposed to be for gaming. It's supposed to be about gaming, and it's supposed to be for gaming. If you ask Twitch, that's generally speaking what they do. And that's why they started to crack down on, the cam whoring stuff. Hang on. So if a guy is faking and staging a legal event like that, some kind of law enforcement event, which usually is SWAT team, by the way, when you SWAT someone, then they would just say, yeah, you're encouraging bad behavior, you're not gaming, and your stream is becoming something other than what we actually asked you to do. So you're banned for a day.
Yeah.
Okay, that's logical.
If you open up the legal page right now and hit Control F and type kill, there's also nothing about not killing people on the stream.
So
But
you
probably
can't.
also shouldn't do that. Like,
But
Well, actually, I think there is.
There's like a clause about moral.
in towards the show, I checked. There's nothing about waterboarding in there. Oh, Steven, we're doing it.
Okay, well, hold on. Okay.
$500.
This is so bad. This is like the worst thing ever, okay? Because not only am I almost agreeing with Lycan, I'm also defending Trick2G. I don't really like Trick2G, okay? I fucking hate Trick2G. And almost as much as I hate agreeing with Lycan over anything. Like, this is
Easier
like
to
a...
hate than to agree with Lycan, I think, though.
Maybe. I feel like banning someone over this, like, it just seems really weird to, like, even if somebody was fake... Yeah, even if somebody was fake snorting cocaine and they like, but it was like really fucking obvious. Like if some guy like held up like sugar, like, like, oh, I'm so fucking cocaine out of my mind. Like, do you really like ban that person? You're like, oh no, like you're.
Did you just really do cocaine just now?
I'm not actually surprised that Steven has like a question about this. But yes, Steven, the answer is yes to everything you're proposing. I know you're going to rant and rave and yell about and talk about how bad the government is, but
it has nothing to do with how bad it has nothing to do with how bad about the government is. These are historic problems that Twitch has faced over and over and over again. Where what do we ban people for? And they've made their rules like intentionally vague, so nobody actually knows through the line. And we've dealt with issues like this before. Remember Tally getting banned for? Was it for sub giveaways? And then Twitch like decided to go back, and now it's like, well, you can do it maybe if it's legal in your area. And now they don't really care at all because you can kind of. But if they do care, then maybe, right? They've always had wishy-washy policies on like a lot of things. Like, is it okay to watch YouTube videos on stream? Like, have you ever seen the?
It would only be Destiny to be like, what? You can't fake snort cocaine or fake swat yourself? Where do we draw the line?
Okay.
Where is the line?
Well,
all right.
I'm not the only one that has these issues. You realize this is like an issue that every single Twitch.
Okay.
No, not me. Literally every single person. Phantom Lord has run into these issues. Fucking that. What about that one guy? You said that Twitch is for streaming games. Who's the fucking CS:GO guy that has like a hooker with him on every fucking stream? Like, why didn't that guy get banned? Like, apparently that was okay. All the Phantom Lord shit. Well, apparently that's okay. You know, some people can watch YouTube videos on stream. Some people can't. Some people can get away. You know, Trick2G did something. Did he get away with it because he's got so many subscribers? He only got banned for a day. Like, these are questions that are really important for like the average fucking streamer to know. Like, what can I actually do on Twitch? And there are no good answers. So I don't even understand like how you can like laugh at, well, why do you think it's so ridiculous that Twitch is inconsistent, haha, when those are like questions that every single streamer has been asking over the past like however long these things have been happening. Like I got look at Twitch hosting poker now, Twitch hosts music events now, like Twitch is hosting what was that show?
Like, they have a whole category for creative where you could just like art on stream.
Yeah, this is a cool. Really important question that a lot of people have been trying to answer over the past like 6 months, and the area has gotten more and more and more gray as Twitch has for sure like factually stepped more away from gaming into other things over the past 6 months. So I think asking like, well, what can you do on a stream? I think that's a totally legitimate question, and just saying like, well, it's for gaming, it's absolutely not true anymore. Twitch
I 100% agree with the concept that you're arguing, and I also agree that there are absolutely countless times where some of the literally hundreds of thousands of streamers on Twitch have done things that were either unpunished or underly punished or overly punished. I absolutely agree with you. What I'm laughing at, and I hope someday you can look back at 27-year-old Destiny and laugh, which you have done in the past. You've done a lot of things that you laugh at. This will be one of them. It'll be that time where you were like, I can't believe that snorting fake cocaine or faking a SWAT on yourself was ever questioned as bad on Twitch.
So here's the thing is, I think that
if
you look at those, I think that the snorting fake cocaine, in my eyes, would be a little worse than the fake swatting. Because if you look at all the things that, look at Steven. Steven has done things where he's sitting on stream, he's doing whatever, and then something will come up, he'll have a discussion with his group. There are people that just pull little stunts and do it. What if Steven and I were fucking running a gaming house together, right? And one day we're just like, hey, we're going to fake a fight on stream. And it was just a little tiff. It was about a recent meta topic, and that was the end of it, right? It was a fake fight. But for 10 minutes, we were not playing games. We were arguing back and forth, right? It's pretty harmless. And all that. Might have got a few chuckles from some people because people knew it was fake. Whatever. The point is that was not gaming. It wasn't gaming focused, and we probably wouldn't have gotten banned from Twitch. So if you say someone snorting fake cocaine, I can understand why Twitch would say, no, that's fucking shit. So what I want to know is between swatting and cocaine, which I believe the fake cocaine would be worse.
It's gray and nebulous. There's no lines to be drawn.
Athene fake swatted himself and made it look way more hardcore than Trick2G did. Right? Trick2G's Trick 2Gs, if you saw the video, it was very, very obviously faked. Like, he swung at the cop with his keyboard, he was shouting. I think he laughed when it happened. Like, it was
like
super
on the floor
obviously
laughing.
fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, Athene's was maybe the only thing that gave it away was that he fucking pointed the camera at him. But, like, they came in with, like, a full fucking SWAT vest. They, like, CGI'd in, like, fucking smoke. Or maybe they had an actual smoke machine coming to the camera. Like, Athene's was hardcore. Like, it maybe was a SWAT. Like, people didn't actually fucking know. And with Athene, you'd never fucking know, right? Whereas Trick, and he didn't get into any trouble whatsoever. There was zero fucking blowback from that. So I think it's a perfectly legitimate question. Like, you laugh like, oh, should you do coke on stream or pretend? Like, well, no, not really. But, like, there have been times on stream where I have a cold and I blow my nose and people are like, stop doing coke. And it's like, so what if one time are like, you know, and I blow my nose, it's like, oh, you know, whatever. Like, I gotta get my fucking high. Like, do I get banned for that for 4 days? Like, am I saying that you should be able to set up a stream, like, call it breaking Twitch, and you're doing like a whole demo on coke, and you're like, you know, got credit cards and shit, and then you pretend to snort it, and then at the end you're like, oh, no, it was just sugar. Obviously, I'm not fucking saying that, but there's a reason why you like a lot of things to be black and white, because you want to know, like, what can I actually do without getting punished? And right now, nobody knows the answer to any of that, and I don't think I'm ever gonna look back in 4 years and go, you know what? I'm actually really fucking happy that Twitch was totally fucking gray in all this area. Nobody knew what they could or couldn't get away with. You know, I don't even think 28-year-old, I don't even think 32-year-old Destiny will look back and say, I'm really glad there's a huge gray area.
That's not what I said. I agree with you. I agree with you that it is better black and white. Like, we never disagreed on that.
I'm very much a person who likes to ask permission for things rather than forgiveness. So, like, I agree with the whole, it's nice to know what you can and can't do. But at the same time, the second you outline what you can't do, those same people like Trick2G and others are going to find ways to, like, loophole it or get around it and still... So, I mean, it's I'm not arguing for gray area because I'm not generally a fan of it, but I'm actually kind of happy it exists because in this instance, like, if there was an exact rule, but he managed to just barely squeeze by, then there's no ramifications. Other people see it's okay and they mimic it. Whereas in this instance, they could be like, no, that was just not cool. Like, common sense, bro. Come on. Like, stuff like that.
But common sense, what? Like, Athene did it, didn't get in trouble for it. Like, everybody that was watching knew it was a joke. Like, what's the takeaway from this? Like, what do you take away from this? If you watch, like, any of the CSGO, like, case opening streams, like, it seems like when the inconsistencies run abound so much, like, it's impossible to know, like, what's okay and what's not okay.
I think we can agree on that.
Full disclosure, by the way, of all of us here, Steven's the only one that's been in trouble with Twitch. So that's why he's like, these questions have a little bit more close to his heart, because common sense to me, who's been streaming for 5 years, has got me in no trouble. I've been fine. It's been a very easy experience.
Yep.
Steven would tell you he's had a different experience. It's because he does a lot of different things and he pushes the boundaries, right, Steven?
First of all, I'm probably the only... How fucking rude are we gonna get here? I'm the only full-time streamer here, okay? My paycheck comes from streaming. No one else here can say that. Maybe Graham? I don't know how much you make. Okay? But you do tournaments. It's not just streaming. Why the fuck are you guys laughing? You do tournaments. It's not just streaming, okay?
He streams the tournaments.
I was literally...
Okay.
Hey God, I was literally just streaming Archon mode before we came here. Like,
these are issues that everybody in the community has dealt with. I don't know why we're pretending like I'm the only person that's had these issues. Like, go and follow any part of the community that's not just like your own team chat or your own fucking personal forums or whatever. You follow any part of the community. These are issues that everybody in the Twitch community that streams and streams for a living is dealing with. Every single person is dealing with. These aren't just unique Destiny. Oh, it's just Destiny problems. I never got fucking banned for
I
doing
said
this
from us, like, of us, Steven, not the whole thing. Calm down.
Yeah, but we all know what the insinuation was. The insinuation is that I'm fucking flashing my fucking dick on stream all the time, so of course I'm the only one that would be offended that I can't.
I'm saying of us that are discussing it. I'm not, like, there was no scathing thing there. I was saying of the 5 of us, we've all streamed without issue, and you have, and I tried to give you the escapes of, like, yes, but you push the boundary, you're a little bit more of, like, a shock jock type of stuff. Like, that's... I'm not saying your dick is all over the camera. Like, that's not what I'm trying to say, man. I was saying you do full-time streaming differently than we do, and yes, it's your whole income, so it's more important to you. But also Ripkins.
Are you still sponsored by razors, by the way? Like, for shaving?
Me?
Razors for shaving? Is that like Chairs for Gaming?
No, that was like it was like a 3-month thing.
Oh.
Why? What's that?
I was gonna make an edge joke, but never mind. No.
That's a competitor, you jackass.
All right, wrapping this topic up, I agree. And I'm not just agreeing because fuck it. I'm not even gonna make that comment.
This is a bandit ship.
You have to make the comment now. Desra wouldn't shy away from it. Why the fuck are you?
No, what's worse, shying away or like giving into peer pressure? Like, what are you gonna do?
I'm not sucking Steven's dick. I'm agreeing with him because I genuinely agree with him. I understand where he's coming from, and I get what he's saying about, the gray areas. At the same time, I get what Jeff is saying about, there's certain things you don't do, and that's kind of where I'm on the edge about the Trick 2G situation. On one end, it's like Trick 2G. Why the fuck would you do something like that? It's an issue that people have to deal with. Everyone gets up in arms about it. Yeah, cool, fun. You had a stunt, but why'd
He
you do
was
it?
banned for one day.
Well, right, and it wasn't
We're
until
talking about him on a StarCraft show. Like the fucking guy won. By the way, it's like
yeah.
not a big deal.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. Anyway, but at the same time, on Steven's end, and as I continue to stream more and more, I'm gonna be in that boat where I want to know what I can and can't get away with. The other day, I did that. I did that stream where I dressed up like a girl and streamed and got drunk. And I'm like, am I allowed to actually show myself doing a shot on stream? Am I allowed to show myself, like you can see my chest. I have a low cut fucking tank top on with fake boobs.
How do we not laugh? Like is making a serious point. He's like, well, I dressed up as a chick, got drunk on stream, and like, is that wrong? Is
Yeah.
that so wrong?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what are we defending right now? Like,
Well,
if I want to dress like an elephant and have sex with a rhinoceros, who's also not really a rhinoceros, and we're not really having sex, is that bestiality? Is that bestiality?
Are we allowed to smoke on stream? Are we allowed to vape on stream? What about if you use an e-cigarette? Like, these are all questions that have been asked. Like, it sounds silly, but it's an actual, like... I think it's like it's a decent question to ask and have answered, like a black and white response,
Sure.
maybe.
Like in
I
used
agree
to
with
be
you
in
on
the
the scale
armies.
of am I allowed to vape on stream, but like I'm laughing at the subjects that are coming up. Or like it's like I dressed as a chick. It was a low cut shirt. They could have seen my tits. I got
gotta
drunk.
figure it out.
That's wrong.
I just connected the dots. Lycan's agreeing with Destiny because Lycan used to be in the army and he was planning to have his army buddies come fake SWAT him to get his channel boosted. So sorry to out you like this, Lycan, but it's not gonna work anymore, man.
I was a Marine, but fuck you.
Marine, sorry.
Anyway, we're going to take that as a perfect time to go to a break. When we come back, we'll talk about more shit. We'll see who's other Jimmies we can wrestle, and we will continue with the late game episode 36. We'll see you in a little bit.
It's one thing to have this happen once, but to have it happen twice.
We talked about stuff in the last segment. We're going to talk about more stuff in this segment. Let's fucking jump to it.
But what are we talking about? Like,
we're talking about WCS Premier is what we're talking about. WCS Premier, right? That shit's going to happen. Good. Nice discussion. Next topic. But no, seriously. WCS Premier groups are finalized. The drawings have been made. 8 groups are going to play. Lots of players. Lots of things going to happen. Jeff, looking at these groups, is there any group that, for you, is the group to watch coming up?
Yeah, I'm looking at them now. You know, I think it's actually pretty well dispersed. I don't think there's... I mean, I'm looking at this. I don't think I see, like, a really clear, this is the group of death. It's kind of interesting. There's a couple of ups and downs, like the young Neeb making it as a Protoss player, qualifying. A new Terran player from China, well, new to us, I guess, Shauna, like, unless that's a name change, I've never seen that in WCS or any tournaments. So that's a lot different. The big question mark, of course, is Major actually going to turn up for this tournament? And then you know, like Violet. Violet's been a little bit like a Stardust in the sense that on paper, you look at Violet and traditionally you say this is one of the best Zergs the world has to offer, but I'm not entirely sure that's actually true anymore. He's definitely capable of it, but he doesn't seem to be fully focused. Kane beating out Huck to be here, but Kane is also very well publicized, doesn't play very much. But otherwise, it's actually like a super winnable group. Like Ayasanu, I'm not high up on him. Xanster's been really hot, but also cold a few times here. We've seen him shut down a couple of these recent tournaments. And then 4GG has never looked more beatable. So I think this is like one of the more up-for-grabs WCSs I've seen on the group stage. Hydra seems to be the big monster, and Euthermal has been tearing it up TVZ, but even as I say that, today he lost to Rhett, I believe it was.
Euthermal's TV's never been that great, to be honest. He's always had like a lot of confidence issues with it. Like,
yeah,
he's in a weird spot with that matchup. He's so fucking good at the other two, and then just like plummets with TVZ.
And Starbuck's definitely good enough to beat him, you know. And I mean, like, so that would be a Euthermal out. Interesting.
That's gonna be like the coolest group too, because Starbuck does weird shit against Terran specifically. So I think that's gonna be a really fun group to watch.
So these will be fun. But to answer your question, no, none of these groups really leap out at me as like this one is clearly the best of all of them. I don't think so.
Group G, we're gonna get to see who the fuck Hitman is, man.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Is he a person? Who knows? Tune in and find out.
It would be more interesting though if he was like a huge shit talker. I know he's BM'd some people, but to be honest, for the most part, his experience is that he's a quiet cheeser. Like he's not the most hated person. I like it. It happened especially back in Brood War, but like when those huge shit talkers that you just never saw at tournaments, they qualify for something, you're like, oh god, yes, who are you? And it shows up, and they're like they're like Idra basically. It's what happened a lot of the times. Like it would be Greg, but
I would love if Hitman came out and he was just like, I don't know, a midget or something just really weird and unexpected that you just nobody saw coming.
That's prejudicial or something. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, I don't mean specifically a midget, but I just mean like everyone's got this picture in their mind of like what this guy is, and everyone sees him so differently. I would love if he came out as just the weirdest imagination of everybody's imaginations combined.
It's like that effect when you're like hear a voiceover of like a football commentator or something for a long time. You see their face, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or like radio hosts as well. When you
Yeah.
Time, you're like, wait, you look nothing like you sound.
Tom Cruise is 5'2", man. That's cool.
Crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Never looks 5'2", but he's actually 5'2".
So yeah, the games start August 13th. We're pretty close to that happening, so it's going to be exciting. Going to see what's going down. Harston, Polt, Petraeus, Major. They're going to kick off WCS Premier for us, and then it's just going to be 15 days of nonstop action. Obviously not every day, but 15 days. WCS. The top 16 players will be finalized, and then Poland, I believe, is the location of the finals.
Yes, in September.
Jesus.
Yeah.
September 11th weekend.
There we go. So, the end. Moving on. Asus Rogue. Biting my tongue. Asus Rogue. ROG. Sorry. Republic of Gamers.
The
right?
UE is.
It's an invisible U.
Asus Rogue. Go ahead.
Anyway.
You're nailing it.
Yeah, thank you. So first thing I want to talk about is Huck as a caster. I feel like he's a guy that every time we see him, it's, you know, he didn't start off bad. He started off good, but just every time he's getting exponentially better, and that's to be expected as you become more practiced in that craft. But Jeff, you know, he's your teammate, he's your buddy. I want to know how you feel about him and how he's doing now, in this endeavor.
Oh yeah, I'll give a completely unbiased opinion that'll be very open and non-fluffy on this one. I mean, yeah, he's a good commentator. He's got a good personality. I think the realest talk I'll get. You ready for this one? And he'll see this, and I'm gonna cast him in the future, and he'll fucking hate me, or maybe, or maybe he'll hear it. The criticism I would have, and I wrote out like 15 snarky tweets, but I didn't send any of them because I'm the PC in control now, because I can actually, I get in trouble every time I say anything mean, so I don't do it. But all right, I'll just fucking say it. My snarky tweet was, I was gonna tweet like, hey, huge shout out to the Muslim for showing up to give emotional support to Huck as he solo cast an entire tournament. Like that was, it was gonna. I just couldn't find it in me to say it, but Jesus Christ, like the entire time. And actually, in my experience casting with Muslim can be very overpowering, especially in Terran matchups. Like it's hard to get a word in edgewise, but Huck destroyed him. He actually killed him in that category, and they obviously found it's harder when two guys don't cast with each other, so that's something that's happening. And in the finals, I actually think they did a very good job. There's some humor there. They're bouncing off each other. It seemed to be at that time they gelled. And that's like actually a pretty predictable thing to have happen because, again, Huck is relatively new to casting. DeMuslim is not as new, but still a little bit more infrequent, I would say. That both these guys would tell you that their full-time gig is playing the game as opposed to casting it for right now, but it's getting closer to being, you know, casting is either halfway or full-time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very common criticism, and both of them are well-liked and loved, and they did a great job, so I hope they don't hate me now, but I did think that was quite funny, that at least in this tournament, Huck was Huck was like 85% of the words that were said, and he actually silenced a Muslim for most of it. So I think he's a very good commentator, great personality, knows his shit, obviously. His bravado and confidence comes through, and I actually quite like it because I think there's a lot of that in my commentary as well, but that was something that they improved on and did really well towards the end.
Good. Rifkin.
I've gotten a cast with Huck a couple times actually, and he's it's weird because it was almost not the exact opposite, but like he's very charismatic. That's always been like a thing for Huck, like whether it was him playing or him talking. And one thing I found when he was casting with us though, like he was very good at taking turns. So when he was, because I mean I watched day 2 or whatever after we were done casting, it was like kind of funny to watch him overpower the Muslim, because the Muslim, I think it was like the pacing may have been off. Like the Muslim, you hear him cast with Nathanias for like Fragment Masters and stuff, it's a lot more calm and laid back, and he lets Nate do all the hype stuff. And I feel like that's kind of like Huck may have just been a little more, I don't know, I don't want to say energetic because people are going to think husky, right? But like I think Huck's just a little more like willing to jump on the ball, I guess, if that makes more sense. Whereas the Muslim's more laid back. I don't think either casting styles are bad. I mean, I like them both individually, but yeah, it was like really overpowering for Huck in the Asus ROG.
So you've let Huck cast with you a few times, have you, Graham?
Yeah, he's been on for an Archon mode tournament. It's been tri-cast both times, but Archon mode tournament and I think WCS qualifiers. We ended up having like a weird quadcast. QXC came on as well for that. But like all times, it was just like a casual conversation, less than him super bravado casting, I guess.
So what you're saying is you've let other people cast on your channel before?
Oh yeah, tons of other people. Like you may have seen many of them or heard of them.
Yeah, I have. I'm a big fan of your channel.
I tend to let a lot of people on the channel.
I noticed
for various casts.
Yeah. Anyway, so
it's funny you bring that up. Any reason? Or
this is how he got the gig at WCS, reason. Guys. By the way, was the.
Yeah, I've heard you've had other casters at WCS ESL.
Hey, Blizzard,
yeah.
Doing it.
I've heard. Anyway, I see you have that in control guy. I mean, come on, you have him. Why don't you have me yet? That was the logic that I laid upon him, and it worked apparently.
Well, you met Huck, I think. I don't think I've casted on base trade actually.
Anyway, moving on to the games. Let's see, Rifkin, you did a lot of casting. Was there any particular matchup that just really struck you, thought was incredibly exciting, an upset perhaps?
So we did Group E in the first stage, and honestly, that group did not go as expected. Fantasy actually almost got knocked out of the group, which is kind of crazy. I first saw maybe Cyril taking Keen down, but Keen finished first in the group. And if you guys have tuned into the Alima League or any of the casts we do over there for Korea, it's a lot of TVTs, and Keen has been playing like trash. So when we went into this with Crank, even Crank was kind of like, I don't think Keen's going to do well this group. Maybe Cyril actually knocks him out. But Keen takes first place in the group over Fantasy. Fantasy almost throws it in the finals match versus Cyril. I mean, like, it was... That alone was kind of surprising because I regard Fantasy to be like one of the better Terran players there are. Maybe not the best, of course, but like in my eyes, one of the better ones out there. So like that first group stage threw me for a huge loop because I was just like, what the fuck is happening? Then of course we had the pleasure of catching Drogo in stage 2, and then everyone knows how Drogo did after that. So like it was really cool getting to see his kickoff, I guess, into the tournament.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, Jeff, it was Petit Drogo versus Losira, and it went. Yeah. I mean, just the way that series went, what did you think of Petit Drogo's performance?
So to be honest, it was going on long, and I streamed in the middle of the finals, so I didn't watch it because it looked like Lasir was starting to smash Petit Drogo. That finished that way, right? It was like 3-1 or 3-0? Okay.
3-2.
I watched everything up until then, and it was awesome. Petit Drogo obviously exemplifies the European PVZ right now, which can almost be described as like the French PVZ, but it just looked great. Was it Hyun he beat before that, or what was the Zerg?
Hyun.
Yeah, it was Hyun.
Yep.
Hyun looked completely ineffectual, like he had no answer for it and just got steamrolled. He would like counterattack when the Protoss army was already out there with the mothership core and stuff like that. Like it was kind of refreshing to see a top tier Korean look like they didn't know what the hell was going on, as opposed to what it usually happens, which is it's like always the foreigner that's just like, I have no fucking idea, and the Korean's just like laughing out loud. And then even the finals started out really well, actually. It was a couple of competitive games between them, but then I turned it off because Losira... Anyways, it was awesome to see, and it's good to see a foreigner. Like, that's also part... Like, when people ask, like, why is it so hard for a foreigner to win a tournament? I mean, look at Petit Drogo's run through Asus ROG, which had a lot of the best Europeans and some good Koreans, but not, like, 25 of the best Koreans.
Mm-hmm.
Even to get to the finals, he had to beat, I believe it was 3...
Hyun.
It was at least 2 Koreans before that. I think there was one in the first round that he beat, right?
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse. Yeah. So it's like, in order to win a tournament like that, he needs to beat all the top Europeans, which in and of itself is really good, and then he has to at least beat 3 Koreans. And none of them are, Maru or something like that. But Losira, one of the big names of the old times, Hyun, one of the guys that's actually been a terror in the foreigner scene in Apocalypse, is respectable. I think he's one of the more beatable Korean Terrans, but still very good, at least top tier non-Korean. So it's an accomplishment, and it's really awesome, and the games were pretty cool. I thought the only like it's not even a complaint, but one of the kind of weird remarks I have for Asus ROG is that their production looks exactly like DreamHack. Like the UI, the graphics in between, like everything about it is exactly DreamHack, which I think they use some of the same people, but I would be so weirded out by that if I was DreamHack. I'm like, hey,
honestly,
that's our tournament you're doing. Like that is our stuff. The graphics, the timer, like the next game, the silly commentary, like the words that'll come up in between. It's like it's all DreamHack.
Yeah. One thing as we transition to the next topic that I want to say just about DreamHack, since it's been brought up, is that I miss the production, and I'm not saying that it happened because Robert Olin left, but I'm just saying before Robert Olin left, they would have those funny videos they'd play in the middle, those the different music videos. Yeah, after ski and all that stuff. Song. It really is, and they don't do that anymore. And I think that really helped with the downtime of all those open brackets. Was I might not be here, but hey, let me watch this guy play Star Wars theme on piano from 1970. So, it was. I like that.
Having worked with DreamHack quite a bit, I can tell you that certainly like that spirit of DreamHack was something that Robert Olin really liked and encouraged, but I don't know that I would give him full credit for that's why it's there or isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't do that stuff as much, I haven't worked the last few DreamHacks, so I couldn't tell you firsthand experience, but I don't know that it's like a philosophical shift. I think it's just like a lot of times they give a guy and they're like, you are the DJ, so you play videos and music in between, and that guy for DreamHack has in the past been very goofy and stuff and given free reign.
Yeah.
So maybe they switched that guy specifically, but don't attribute it to Robert Olin because I don't think that that's necessarily the case.
Okay. Yeah, I know actually who the guy is that picks the videos. I don't talk to him though, so I don't know if he was told, hey, we're trying to stick with Twitch rules, not play all these different songs, things like that. But it's something I miss. It's something I really liked about DreamHack.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to move forward now with the topics. Finishing up Asus ROG. Did I say that right? All right. Let's talk about Allied Commanders. I'm excited for this. I was really looking forward. This is the first thing that we got to see that we couldn't really talk about, that we can now talk about. Before we do talk about this, though, and I believe I told everyone this beforehand, but there are things that we still can't talk about that weren't released, but we can talk about the 2 maps that were shown, which is the train map and then the one that has this like demon-like Protoss pop up. And then we can talk about the 3 characters that have been revealed, which are, I believe it's Jim, Artanis, and Kerrigan.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, I had the things that I want to say, but I'm gonna kick it to Jeff because he got.
You
to
call
sit
him
there.
Jim, huh?
Yeah, first name basis.
He's on a first name
Yeah.
basis with Mr.
I mean, you're a
Rainer.
Terran player, so I guess yeah.
Yeah. I'm one of Rainer's Raiders, baby.
I'm excited about it. This is something that was very reminiscent for me. I think Rifkin earlier said that he feels like Archon mode, and I 100% agree with this. Is kind of one of those nice little nods to the more casual players and perhaps lower level players, but also still being awesome and fun for everybody above that as well. I also think Allied Commander is another way for people to enjoy this game without being stressed out too much by the hyper competitive and macro, or not macro necessarily, but mechanical aspect of the game. Like, I think this is another cool thing that when someone buys Legacy of the Void or pre-orders it, they can say, well, I'm not going to be playing single player hyper competitively because that's not my bag. I'll play it some, but I've got a great single player, Archon mode with my next door neighbor, and girlfriend's going to be awesome, or boyfriend. And also Allied Commander for when I'm feeling super chill and I want to have a few drinks or just relax and play something even a tone down from Archon mode, I feel. But still fun. Like, we all played it at that summit. It's actually pretty cool. It's got enough competitive edge to it that there is, like, you should be on Skype or whatever, TeamSpeak with your partner. You should be talking on some level. There's scaled difficulties, so it can get quite a bit harder, and then I think you can actually play it against other people too, which I like every aspect of that.
I didn't hear anything about other people, but
I think so.
that'd be cool. No, that'd be cool if they did. I just didn't hear anything about it myself. One of the things for Allied Commanders though that I really liked was and Control just brought this up, like the dynamic of like how people play it. I was bragging about this on stream earlier today. I'm gonna do it again now because it's a really funny dynamic. Myself and Zombie Grub, we're sitting there playing on brutal mode, like the hardest mode we managed to unlock before like we all got kicked out and stuff. And Crank and MMA wanted to come try. We beat all 3 of our brutal missions on like our first try, no problem. Crank and MMA failed on the one we beat first 3 times in a row before they gave up. So like these are like amazing Korean players that like can't deal with what is like, in my opinion, simple mechanics, right? So it's really funny. People from all different types will enjoy or dislike the game, but I love that Blizzard's actually giving us alternative options outside of the arcade. Like, I mean, this could very well have been just like an arcade game, but like standalone Allied Commanders is really cool. It's refined, and the best part is like they've already talked about how they're looking to prolong it. Like, it's not just like, okay, here's 6 missions, you're done for your life. Like, they want to add more as time goes on and more heroes and other things like that. So I think it's really cool. And there's this grind aspect to it too. Like, you level up and unlock abilities, and maybe that's not appealing to some, but I remember like leveling up in League of Legends, and like the first time I unlocked Ignite or whatever, I was like, holy fuck, I can do so much damage. That is just so cool. Like, it's the same sort of thing with like, you unlock new units, you unlock new abilities for your commanders. Like, it's really cool. I liked it a lot.
So some people are asking what it is, and it's like the quick breakdown of it is just you and a partner are doing these mission maps. There's like an objective on the map that you're both trying to defend, destroy, whatever. There's some variance to it. And you have a commander, and the commander changes like your abilities. Kerrigan is this beat stick. Jim, as Lycan calls him, is he can call in like banshees. He can call in the Hyperion, which has crashed like 3 times. So who knows I was doing that, but it is. And then the Protoss guy, Artanis, he has like you're taking control of his spaceship in fucking outer space, a Dune Spear or whatever it's called, and that can do orbital shots. It can open up pylon areas so you can warp in there. It can give extra shield. So it's like different kinds of buffs for your army as you accomplish these missions, working in tandem with somebody else. So that's what Allied Commander is.
And I think that it's important to recognize too that while Kerrigan is a playable character, Jim Raynor and Artanis are not. Like, they provide options in play, but they're not actually. It's not just like MOBA and StarCraft combined against co-op. They're all sort of, each race or each hero brings something unique to the way you play it out. And you have base management still. So you start with you know, a hatchery and 12 workers, just like you would in any Legacy of the Void game. But you sort of build up, and you have to go, you know, complete these objectives. Like in the train one, you have to destroy the train before too many trains get through.
And just like single player, there's some different stuff too. Like the zealots have different weapons actually. There's some different abilities as well. So there is like it has that single player flair to it where it's not just a straight up this is multiplayer played this way or single player played this way or MOBA like Jack Attack was saying. It's like its own thing, and I think that was very smart and intuitive by Blizzard.
Yeah,
I think it's just this awesome like in between step for the campaign players who are like 1v1 is really fucking scary. It's like, oh, I like Commander's thing. It's all right, cool. Maybe like they start making the way over to Archon mode or something like that. But the gap between a person who plays campaign and a person who plays 1 versus 1 now has like small steps in between it for people who want to just get into it, but not in this like super like hardcore. All right, I'm doing 1 versus 1. I'm gonna train and I'm gonna be good at StarCraft and all this kind of stuff. You know.
Yeah, Steven, so you haven't heard, you know, you weren't at that summit.
Wow, Lycan.
I
mean,
I wish you guys could see my face.
salt.
No, I'm saying you've heard this like from, you know, these guys here. You've read what has been released and all that. What are your thoughts on the thing?
I mean, from a little bit I saw, it looked pretty cool. Kind of a boring answer, but it'll come a lot down to implementation. I guess how it actually plays out. You guys have more experience with it than I did, though, so I don't have much to add. I don't think.
I think what I really like about it is it brings that social aspect, right? So you have to talk to someone, you have to coordinate, you're going to learn together, right? Someone's going to say, it's just like, you know, when you play 1v1 and you talk with a friend and you try to figure things out, you guys have a common objective, so it increases the desire for both of you, like, hey, we want to play this level on Brutal, so let's talk about how we're going to actually do it. And in a lot of ways, though there are different units you don't have, there are units that you have different, you know, abilities, like different weapons, like Jack Attack was talking about, it's still going to force you in a lot of ways to learn, and I think it is going to be that good step in between. Give me 1 second, Graham. Go ahead and talk about something.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Just you don't have to. You don't have to.
Just chill. We should just be silent the entire time.
Yeah.
When he comes back.
Just a moment of silence for Lycan's career. If we can just do that, please.
It's this shit when it's like you're in the car and your parents are like, "It's time to play the quiet game, guys."
Only it's more awkward because he's hosting a show and instead just.
Well, it was the show thing that I had to take care of.
Yeah,
So,
but
my
Really? I
apologies.
thought that this was the show thing that you had to take care of. What are the shows you
honestly,
running?
that's the quickest I've ever seen someone masturbate. I think that's pretty amazing.
Well played. Well played.
All right. Anyway,
Can we joke about masturbating on stream now, or is that like a...
Yeah. You just can't do it.
You just can't do it.
well,
that's
you
why
can't
I
let
paused.
people
Can't
see you do
pretend
it.
to do it either.
You
That's-
can't let people
Or
see
hear
you
it,
do
I
it.
imagine. You probably can't listen to it either. I think that
No snorting semen on stream.
What the fuck? All right, cool. Jack Attack. Any final thoughts on Allied Commanders?
It's super fucking fun. It's like ridiculously fun. Like we were all in the room playing it at the time. And we're like, oh god, look at this cool thing you can do. It brings that sort of like fantasy and excitement. And I think people are gonna have a really, really good time with it.
Cool, cool. Jeff, final thoughts on Allied Commanders?
Yeah, I think as a full package for purchasing Legacy of Void, which is a standalone game, by the way, you don't have to have the other two. It's just awesome, and I think the special magic is that it's Blizzard backed, and it's not just an arcade game that'll like come out and nobody will touch it ever again. They've already told us well, I can't imagine I'm gonna get destroyed if I disappear tomorrow, guys. Let me know, but they plan on releasing more heroes and more maps and like actually supporting it, so it's something you can count on for a while. I think that's really cool.
Yep. Graham, final thoughts?
I think, yeah, what In Control just said, I think is the biggest thing for me, the longevity of it, because it's so easy for a game like that to get boring once you beat it. Like, I can see it's like, well, now I get to grind out all the Protoss levels of this hero, then the next hero, and it's, I don't know, it's pretty cool looking, and if they implement anything close to reward systems at all, like, maybe you can unlock a portrait for, like, leveling up all your characters and stuff, like, that's even cooler. Like, there's so much stuff they could do with it, and I'm excited about the potential of it, more so than what we've already seen.
Cool. All right. Then we're going to move forward. Now we're going to talk about Adderall and esports. Adderall is a drug that is used to treat ADD, ADHD, and I'm not familiar with any other disorders that it treats. But before we go into the discussion, let's talk about something. Okay, for those who don't know, because this is like one of those things like anti-vaxxing that just has some weird stigmas about it. ADD, ADHD is a disorder. It's kind of like a chemical imbalance. Same thing with depression, where certain receptors and triggers aren't working in the brain when it comes to the way that I learned about it is the rewards, for doing something. So if you were to do an action or you were to do work, your brain is getting a constant reward by, the stimulation of doing what you're doing. And people with ADD, ADHD, that's a problem for them. They don't get those chemical things. So what Adderall does is it counteracts that. It normalizes the individual. So now if you don't have that issue, Adderall is like cocaine. It's a stimulant. It creates like this super focused mentality. And
let me stop everyone real quick. Everything you said so far is kind of true, except that Adderall is like cocaine. Please continue.
Oh no! I mean, give me your thoughts on it. I'm not.
No, you
Don't
have
tell
cocaine
the
a lot.
public that Adderall is cocaine. They're
You
it's
brought
like
cocaine a lot on this
it's the
show
sin
today.
of every
Are you
dare
okay?
officer
Like-
ever. Don't smoke marijuana because it'll lead to prostitution and death. Like,
I'm not saying it's like cocaine. It's.
You did say it. You said
I'm not saying
Adderall
it's
is like cocaine.
The problem is with the way that you said it, it can be very easily misconstrued. I think you're trying to say that if someone doesn't need Adderall, then it acts as a stimulant.
okay. It is a stimulant.
Saying the word cocaine is not smart.
Yes.
Man, I think we could have like moved forward and things would have just been fine. But anyway,
No, I agree. The differentiation was necessary.
Jeff, I
No,
noticed
no,
you
I think
drinking
it's
that
necessary to
Monster.
clarify.
Now, for those of you that don't know, Monster is essentially crack cocaine. I think it's fine. They both energize you, right? That's what they do. It's like, yeah. Hey, Mom, I was watching the late game, and Lycan said cocaine is like Adderall. Why do you give me Adderall? Who the fuck is Lycan? It's like, he's some guy. He fought for America. A goddamn honorable man who's completely wrong.
all right.
Honorable man teaching my kid about cocaine.
Okay. Look, I don't have anything to compare it to then, because it's not like caffeine. The feeling you get from Adderall is through the fucking roof, especially if you don't need it. So there are people who have used it to increase their performance. There are people who in college, in America, it is extremely easy to get an Adderall prescription. You go to the doctor, you say, hey, I can't focus in school, and doctors are allowed to just say, okay, here, have some Adderall. The end. It's
Talking pretty quick right now. Are you?
It also sounded like you're talking from experience. Like, did a friend of yours once take a bunch of Adderall?
No, I've had a prescription for Adderall.
There you go.
It's different though for people that need it. I heard. Anyways, this
Yeah.
is like way too much, guys. The short end of it is that
What was-
ESL is
what
going
were
to
we
start
talking
drug
about?
testing for Adderall, but the kind of question mark is that they haven't really said what they're all going to test for. It's come up because Team Cloud9, I don't know if you want to say leaked, but accidentally informed the community that they're all avid fans of crack cocaine Adderall, and they help. What the actual effect that people are, it's not necessarily that it's a stimulant, it's more that it helps them focus like rigidly hard. Like when someone who doesn't need Adderall takes Adderall, whatever the fuck they're focusing on becomes the center of their universe forever. And that's why a lot of gamers for the last 25 years have like been not even caught is the way to say it. It comes out that some of them rely on Adderall to make them better at the video game. So the ethical question is Adderall, this thing that people have used all the time to pass exams in college, abusively, you could say, or do better in gaming, is that something we should drug test for and make the center of attention?
Yes. So,
Yes, we should, or yes, that's the question.
I'm sorry.
What do you think, Destiny? I think we should start with you for the baseline.
I don't really. It's an interesting question. I'm not sure. This is like, does anybody remember in like grade school when or high school the teacher would ask the class like, "Hey guys, let's pretend in the future like people can take like cybernetic implants to become better. Should we let them become better than a normal person? What if a handicapped person, got robot legs that made them 20 times faster than a normal person? Like, what are all the implications of that? And
You
it's
joked
like,
that actually came up in the Olympics. The guy with prosthetic legs, the certain design actually made him run faster than most normal people.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's not even you say joke, but I'm not even really joking. Like, it's
Yeah.
definitely a valid question. Like, should let's say you have somebody with some kind of attention deficit disorder. Is that person on Adderall going to be able to focus better than a normal? I'd say normal, but somebody who doesn't have the same issues, who doesn't have access to Adderall, like
So,
they're.
from experience,
Mhm.
I have ADHD. I didn't just go to a doctor and say, hey, I can't focus, and he said, hey, fuck you, here's some Adderall. I took tests. I, went through a process. I didn't want to do drugs. I didn't want to take the drugs. But there was a noticeable difference. And the first 2 weeks on Adderall is fucking mind-blowing focus, right? I get to work, I get shit done. I have half a day where I don't know what to do with myself because I want to do things, and I've already done all the things I can do, right? After 2 weeks, you normalize, and it just becomes business as usual. The difference is when you try to focus with ADHD and you don't have the medicine, and you're not in a routine, so it's not you're doing constant repetitive actions, right? But you have to actually do something like write a paper for school or something like that, right? The trying to focus when you're not getting that reward from focusing is hard. And so, you have to struggle. You have to say, come on, I gotta focus, I gotta think. And it's not until the last moment where you have that pressure, like forcing you to do something, that it's a lot easier for you to do it. So if I were to sit down and write a paper once I've normalized, it's just like I sit down and write a paper, I'm able to put my thoughts to the paper and be done with it. I'm able to go to work, not have to, flip through the internet for an hour before I'm able to actually start working. So you do normalize. Now, the thing is, though, is that if you are prescribed more than you get, you start to get funky, you start to feel weird, et cetera, et cetera. But that's a different thing. The question would be, let's say that ESL says, if you have a prescription for Adderall, if you've been tested and proven to have a deficiency, so not just focus issues, but you've actually been told by your doctor, hey, you have this or that, right? How can they ensure that, first of all, that you got a valid prescription or that you got a valid diagnosis, right? And second of all, because it's, again, very easy to get diagnosed like that without going to a psychologist, how do you determine someone is using a prescription properly without saying, oh, well, fuck, if I can just go easily get a prescription, I'm going to go get it and look at that, I got a prescription, haha, you can't tell me I can't use Adderall. So do they just ban anyone from using Adderall? If you use Adderall, period, end of story, you don't get to compete in esports? Or is it let's do an in-depth study and find out how many people currently use Adderall for prescription uses and things like that? Like, how do we go about this without just saying no one with Adderall can compete?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything you said.
Honestly, this is one of those issues where there's no winners. There's no way to please everybody. I don't know what the correct answer is. Does anyone here think that they can give an absolute correct answer? I feel like, do you remember that there was a story that came up a couple months ago where a man was a wrestler. But it was a transgendered woman, and eventually they had the surgeries and they became a woman. And then there was a big debate on should she be able to wrestle?
Oh, the MMA fighter.
Or MMA, not wrestle. Yeah, do MMA. And so is the answer no? So no transgender people are ever allowed then to compete in sports? Well, that kind of sucks. That's not really equal rights. So transgender people are just fucked, right? Or do you say yes, and then the people that aren't transgendered now, because being able to train puberty as a man and then transfer over to a woman, is
the issue with her?
Fair,
that woman has a pretty small frame in general, right? The transgendered woman. But
but this isn't even. You don't even have to get into specifics. I'm just saying that philosophically,
right?
That's the question where there's no winners. Or everybody wins and everybody loses. You either say fuck all transgender people and getting to perform in sports, or you say, well, okay, transgender people can compete, but now the people that aren't transgender might feel like they're getting hella fucked out of that deal, especially women, right? Who have to compete with somebody who got to train as a man. It's not really fair, right? So there's no good answer there,
Yeah.
So again, you go back to the Adderall thing, say there's somebody who has ADHD and now he gets a prescription of Adderall. I mean, if he, like you said, are you going to know if they use too much Adderall? He's already got a prescription for it. What if somebody, is able to fake it enough to get a prescription for Adderall? What if somebody who has ADHD, if you were to do a sample size of 100 people with ADHD who take Adderall compared to normal people who don't have ADHD, and then, see who can focus better, and all of the kids who have Adderall, even though they have ADHD, the drug actually, puts them at a better level of focus than an undrugged person, is it fair for them to compete? And then if you say no, they can't compete, so if you have ADHD, now you can't be a pro gamer, well, that kind of sucks, or, there's no, I don't know what the answer is.
I feel like either way, there's going to be, if that's something that you introduce as ESL, you have to consider that's going to be a lot of overhead to be, checking everyone and making sure, the more you try to get as fair as possible, but the more that you do, the more it's going to cost you to make this happen. And I think you have to sort of weigh, the effect of it all is sort of like, okay, how big of a problem is this really in esports right now, and can we support the overhead to try and manage it?
So I'm sure at some point somewhere there's been like a similar argument made for this, and I'm not saying this is my point of view, but like, what about going the opposite direction, where it's just like it's okay to use Adderall, like instead of it being like a hush hush thing, that everyone's performance levels increases and it's a fair playing field or something like that.
Well, then are there negative drawbacks to using Adderall and abusing it?
Yes, and
I would imagine
it's
so.
it's an amphetamine. Like, you know, you can go through, you can become addicted to it. You can become reliant on it. It's the baseball does that though. MLB.
I was gonna say, yeah,
And
this is
football.
really funny because everybody else has had these issues. There's a huge issue. Have you heard of people talking about in the Major League Baseball how they were gonna go back and start revoking records for people that steroided, and like how far back they would have to go? And the same thing happened with the bicycling bullshit with fucking
Blood doping.
yeah, what was oh god,
Neil
who was
Armstrong.
like the Uno
Armstrong?
test?
Lance
yeah.
Armstrong. Lance Armstrong.
Yeah, Lance Armstrong. Yeah.
Okay,
They
alright.
had to go back. Well, they had to go back, and it was like they everybody got mad at Lance Armstrong, but I think you had to go down like 27 places to find the next player who didn't dope. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, with the MLB just says if you have a prescription from your doctor, you're allowed to use Adderall, and then that's the end of it. There was that guy who was going to get fined because he popped 4 Adderall. He was prescribed it, but he never reported it, and that's part of the process for them. So I feel like, you know, and I'm never going to be a pro gamer, so people could say, yeah, you know, you're speaking from bias, but I'm never, regardless of how much Adderall I take, I'm never going to sit on that stage and compete. So I'm saying this from the idea of a gamer who does have it and needs it to be regular and needs it to be able to focus at the normal level of a person that doesn't have that chemical imbalance. You know, you exclude a lot of people. I would imagine that the gaming community has a lot of people that use Adderall on a regular basis, and I assume that ESL, if they move forward with this, is going to have to do some sort of study, or they will do some sort of study to find out who's competing in their tournaments using Adderall legally.
One of the more interesting comments I saw that I thought is kind of like just on an ethics level, I think, yeah, I think people probably generally speaking should not be, like, if you don't need to take Adderall and you're taking Adderall to get an edge in a game, just ethically speaking, I think we can all agree that's probably on some level not okay. And then people are like, well, what about caffeine? I know people that chug energy drinks before a competition. Is that performance enhancing? It's like, yeah, certainly there's going to be an argument against it. It's not so black and white. And it's not the most evil thing you can do in the world either. It's not like if you take Adderall, you win. It's not like doing a weightlifting competition with steroids that like absolutely makes your muscles larger and stronger, and that's what's being competed for. Like, not really. But there will be false positives. People will get popped as you took Adderall or an illegal substance and you're in trouble now. Well, they're taking that drug test at a tournament that their team sent them to. They don't have a union. They don't have any defense. So what has that player done? Like, does ESL then say, okay, you can go sit in the hotel, but you're not competing in our tournament? That player is in the deepest of deep fucking doo-doos because their team is going to, like, is that a CSGO player and all of a sudden it's 4 versus 5 for the rest of the tournament that completely sinks the entire tournament for that roster? Is there going to be a strike system? Like, all these kind of questions come up. But what if, and this does happen, it happens all the way in the NFL with the best drug testing you could possibly ask for, if a guy gets a false positive without representation or any defense whatsoever, they could actually just get their entire career kind of fucked on. Their team could just, you know, they could be punished up to wazoo, and they did absolutely nothing wrong. So that to me is a pretty scary check that is part of the reason why, and I'm not a competitor, so ultimately this is just my conjecture. I don't have like a firsthand experience opinion on this, but in this climate, I'm not for it because of that. Not because of the people that shouldn't be competing on Adderall, but because of the people that will get caught without having ever taken anything like Adderall, and they'll be completely fucked on. It's just part of the system.
Agreed. I think that one of the things that I hope that ESL, I haven't talked to anyone at ESL about this, I hope that they are considering is that they are the biggest gaming organization in the world. When they take an action like this, it's going to set a precedent. It's going to set some sort of standard. And I hope there's a little more than just a little internal discussion about how they're going to go forward. But I think that's really the extent of that topic. I think we all brought up some good points just about, you know, what this is going to mean. And, you know, because we're not talking about steroids, right? We're talking about a drug that is, we're not talking about, you know, the kind of steroids that are used and abused in things like, you know, bodybuilding and competitive sports or physical sports. We're talking about a drug that is used to treat issues with people. And it's easily obtained. But at the same time, you know. Anyway, so I'm rambling on that. Anyone have a final thought before we move on to questions? Nope. Cool. All right. It is time for questions. I feel like that's one of the more serious discussions we've had on the show.
Nobody flew off the handle and started making crack cocaine the jokes to the. Well, I guess during the discussion part.
We started with the comparison. And then we
got it out of the way. That's the trick. There you go.
Yeah,
you
we gotta,
found
we
the
gotta
formula.
get the
Like it.
rustle out
You
of the
gotta
way.
bait. This trick. You gotta make sure it's a topic that's not gonna rustle Destiny, and you gotta bait in control into the joke before you get into the discussion. Then boom, you have a real discussion.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it, mate. That's how it's done.
I want to say that I've never done cocaine, so that,
Just so unnecessary. Like, by the way, guys, I've never killed a man either. I'm just saying, like, I don't.
it was that. Who was that? Who's that guy who has a Fox News show? He ran for president one time. Huckabee. And he was giving some campaign speech, and I think he was trying to make a House of Cards reference. And he was like, "By the way, I've never tried to kill anyone."
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's do this. Question time, or favorite time, Jeff's favorite time. I know that for sure. That's not a question. That's not a question. That's not a question. I answered that question.
Interesting.
All right,
Great question time.
I know, right?
Good show, guys.
About Allied Commanders, can you really talk about it? Yes, we've talked about it. Next question. Who is DJ Wheat, and why does he have beef with Destiny?
Oh, we're not doing this.
Oh.
I like having a job. We're not going here.
Yep. Questioning for Destiny and Control and Lycan. Nope, we're not answering. Jesus fucking Christ, guys. Could you not ask a decent question this week? All right, thoughts on the tactical nuke in StarCraft 2 and how it does or does not fit into the newer, faster-paced Legacy of the Void? All right, thoughts. So that was the question. Primarily about how it's zoning mechanic, but with the Liberator and new tanks, it feels outdated. So basically what the guy is saying, you know, with the current things that exist in Legacy of the Void, the nuke, for what it is used for currently in Heart of the Swarm, it seems kind of replaced. There is a point for it. So, Jeff, TVP, nuke is a pretty big thing there. Do you have any thoughts on the nuke in Legacy of the Void?
I don't know that it'll be any different in Legacy of the Void. I think it'll be exactly the same. I really like it. In fact, I think actually with the tinkering with the ghosts and also actually I think you'll see more ghosts in TVP because there's gonna be a lot more Templar earlier on without the Colossus. So I don't know. I think the nuke's one of those incredible things that everyone has probably no strong opinion of except for Avila. Like I think that would be the only person. I think everyone's like, yeah, the nuke's pretty cool, and it's not seen that much, but when it is, it's pretty cool. It's good.
Jack attack? Or go ahead, Graham. You started.
Well, I'll let Jack go first. I got a lot of stuff to say about it. So.
No, Rifkin, you please.
Oh, okay.
Ladies,
well,
please.
Okay, so first off, the only time I've actually seen a nuke used in competitive play so far, and this is base trade TV, you know, we cast fucking everything, right? Like, there's one instance of, I can't remember what the tournament was, it was Grubby versus Journey on Deadwing. He nuked like a Grubby's third or something. It didn't even really affect the game that much. The other time was anytime Select would play TVT, you would once in a while in like actual qualifiers see him do nuke rush builds. Shy of that, it's just never used. Like the idea of it being a giant zoning technique, like this was back in like Wings of Liberty was the last time I think we ever saw it. Like it really has not been used since. And I almost wish I never fucking cast Starbow because I saw a really fucking cool version of the nuke in Starbow that I wish they'd bring to StarCraft where it drops faster, but it does like significantly less damage, but it's still usable as the thing. Because right now, honestly, as is, like, it controls right. Like, a lot of people have the same opinion. It's cool, but it never gets used. And like, how good is something if it never ever gets used?
It's not the nuke though.
Carriers more than nukes.
The nuke is fine. It's that the ghost is kind of infrequent in matchups. Like you don't make ghosts in TVZ, you don't make them in TVT, and except for the mega late game if you're doing nuke strategies, which, like you said, is neither that great or that bad. And then in TVP, your ghost is your lifeline for EMP and snipe specifically against Templar, not nukes. So it's not necessarily the nuke itself, it's the ghost. And when two of the three matchups you don't use a ghost, then why would... If you make a nuke twice as good, yeah, they'll show up, I guess. But that's kind of silly, too.
But back... Okay, so like my context in this, too, is like back in Wings of Liberty, I think it's safe to say everybody played a lot slower. Like even the top of the game was nothing close to like what the top of the game is now. And 10 seconds for a nuke to drop was a long time. Then it was like perfect because it took a long time to look around the map and find that dot. I feel with how fast everyone plays now, 10 seconds is like unfair. You will never land that nuke against anyone who's paying anything close to like half attention to what's going on, unless it's like low league stuff. So I don't know, like there's so many different aspects of the nuke I just really don't like. Whether it's the ghost, which you're right, like the ghost totally sucks. There's like 3 players in Korea who use ghosts, period. Like the ghost itself doesn't help that it's attached to the nuke. Then you got the nuke itself, which is very expensive, very gas cost, and it doesn't have a chance to land.
Yeah. So I mean, in that respect, they're looking at the ghost. They've talked about
Yeah,
it. They've
for
had these
sure.
ridiculous changes that they're trying to talk about. So maybe we'll see more of the ghost. Is 10 seconds too much? I would be okay with agreeing to that. But it's like you can't make it too terribly fast, obviously. So maybe you go down to like 7 seconds, 8 seconds, like 6 maybe. Would we see that many more nukes? I still don't think so. It's the root problem is you have to change the ghost and it has to be something that make it like doable across the board. And that's really funny because guess who's the big fucker in that equation as well? You guessed it, it's Protoss again, because if you make the ghost too inexpensive or like too good, in the one matchup the ghost is seen where it's actually pretty fucking good, it becomes ungodly. And it's like, what a fucking conundrum you're in, because you don't see it in TVZ ever. They like tried to give it a special shot to make it good against Ultralisk, who like what a terrible idea. Jesus Christ, making ghosts off a Tech Lob barracks to deal with Ultralisk, yeah, like your head just keeps exploding every time you say it. Or in TVT, like if you give them lockdown, then there's like something that's kind of cool. That's the only time you saw it in TVT back in Brood War as well, is if it could affect mechanical units. So you have to do something to the ghost, and then you talk about nuke, not the other way around, in my opinion.
Just a tiny little point. I'm 95% sure the wait time is actually 20 seconds.
Wait, 20 seconds to
20
drop a nuke?
seconds to drop a nuke. I'm pretty sure.
20 seconds, really? Was that 20 Blizzard seconds before?
This is like 20
yeah, I
Blizzard
think it's 20
seconds.
Blizzard seconds, so like 14.52812 regular seconds, something like that.
Did you just pull that number out of your ass, or was that?
Oh yeah, no, dude, it's totally calculated. I need to, keep the mystique up that I'm this number god. Anyway,
Yeah.
so like 20 seconds. It says it on Wikipedia. I'd have to test it in game to be 100% sure.
There we go.
But it has to be
seems really
20
high.
Blizzard seconds, I think.
20 Blizzard seconds for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank whoever asked that question, because I've been having trouble with Ultralisk the last couple of days in Legacy of the Void, and I completely forgot they have that.
I think that
ability
it's
for
not
the-
in. It's not in though.
Oh, it
they
isn't?
took it out. I'm pretty sure. I've actually
Ultralisk
never
ability?
seen a ghost in TVZ and Legacy of the Void.
Oh yeah.
I think it just has snipe still, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're still just talking
Snipe
about it.
got changed though. Snipe is like this channeled ability, and it does like way more damage if it lands.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
Oh, it is
But
in
it
the
still
game.
sucks because it's only fucking biological. Like if you could use that on mechanical, that would be really cool. But nope, 170 damage after like 6 seconds or whatever of channeling.
So
But
when
also, you're making a ghost you're making a 200 gas unit that only has that ability against Zerg. Like it's just bad in how it's utilized.
I agree. All right, so moving on to the next question. Can we talk about the rumors of GSL shutting down after this season? So that rumor has been flying around. I don't have any information on it. I don't believe that anyone here, if they did have information on it, would talk to it. But what I will say is this: if GSL shuts down, we still have the SSL. I don't see the SSL going anywhere. I imagine what would happen is if GSL disappears, the SSL will pick up the WCS role.
If GSL disappears, people will realize you can watch StarCraft and not low quality. I feel like putting glasses on for the first time.
Oh.
Well, they strayed with the shots.
Oh.
I hate it. I think it's stupid. I am so frustrated about the fact that they paywall that. Because like the thing that gets me most about that isn't just that they put the quality lower. They've convinced people on Reddit and like Team Liquid that somehow it saves them cost. Like you're broadcasting at the same output no matter what you're doing. You're just limiting what other people can see. Like it doesn't cost them any extra to let you see medium versus low quality.
So
And, like
I
that's
think to play devil's advocate, I think that the rationale is that if literally one person subscribes to watch it in high quality, then they're okay with that. Like that's all the explanations I've heard is that they literally don't give any fuck whatsoever about foreign views.
I've heard that too.
I don't know like how true that is or how.
It's not that they're
fucked
mitigating
that is.
costs; it's that they're making more money.
Yeah.
it bothers me that like it's not about their reasoning that bothers me in there. Like they're a business that do what makes the most money. That makes sense. It's the fact that like it's created this huge disillusion to everybody else. There's a lot of people too who seem to think that's a default. You can only go to medium by default. You have to actually work out some sort of contract with Twitch to force a low quality stream.
People over even harder.
Yeah, like they actually had to go out of their way to be like, hey, let's fuck people. Like that's what bothers me about it a lot. So I don't know. I really hope it's not something that catches on. I hope it's not something other organizations ever do. I'm really just, I don't know. Free 720p on base straight TV.
Okay. All right, we're gonna continue moving on. We're almost done with the question. This is going pretty quick.
Sounds like you're getting a lot of questions there, but you just don't want to read them.
Lycan, you can change the system where you read the questions beforehand. You know that, right?
Well, so I mean, yeah, the majority of the questions come in like really as the show is going on. Like people see the show, they see the thread, they're like, oh, I can go ask questions, and they go do it. So then I don't have, I need to get an admin. Hey, if you want to be an admin, if you're someone that I've seen before in my chat, or you're already one of my admins, PM me, and I will pay you $5, $10 a week to read my questions.
Get fucking Lupa to do it, dude. Lupa's like the most dedicated kid out there.
Lupa's kind of losing his passion and playing League of Legends.
Right, so bring him back. Fucking save him. Get him involved with
Save
this.
him, man.
All right. Anyway, so I'm gonna skim these. I apologize for this shit, and next week we will make it not happen. So thank you for tolerating. Give me 1 second. All right. Did anyone at the Blizzard Summit bring up Scourge? I feel like interaction like Scourge and Medivacs. I don't think it was brought up, so I'm not breaking an NDA by saying that.
I don't think that we could say what we brought up even if we did bring it up in any case.
Correct. But I don't think the Scourge was brought up. But maybe it was, and I just wasn't listening. Who knows? That's a fucking Hearthstone question. Destiny. Your recent fans are leaking in here.
Well, I think that anyway with the Scourge, Blizzard is pretty reluctant about adding things that were in Brood War into StarCraft 2 because they want it to remain a unique game. So it was a really big, long uphill battle to get the Lurker into the game. Continuing along that route will get harder and harder each time a Brood War unit makes its way into StarCraft 2. So it's kind of maybe not a battle that's worth fighting.
Okay. Jeff, what do you think about moving the Mule to a production unit available from the command center instead of being called down for energy? It wouldn't have a timeout like a normal SCV. It wouldn't have a timeout as if it were an SCV, and it would require an armory to build and 100 minerals, 50 gas. Something I
think if you mess too much with the I don't know. I'm not a game designer, so take my question for the grain of salt that it is. But like, if you remove the Mule from the orbital, that means Terrans are scanning twice as much, and
it also changes the value of each scan. Like right now, you're choosing to lose out on what is essentially 270 minerals faster by scanning. Like, if you don't have a choice, you're just like, yeah, fucking scan. Let's build a fifth orbital. Scan some more. Like, it takes away the value of your other choices.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bit of an issue too, just because in Legacy of the Void you mine out so quickly. So the Terrans are that are muling heavy are mining out really fast.
Okay. Let's see. What do you think about adding more passive skills to activate, or just to research like Stim, Guardian Shield, Metabolic Abuse to expand the strategic part of fights?
Stim is not passive.
Hold on, give me a second. Look, I don't like making awkward moment.
They're wrong, but keep going.
Okay.
You can't.
Or we could just answer the question.
If you have the answer for it, well, people need to know what it is, so just give me a second.
Fair enough.
I'm getting flustered. I'm sorry. What do you think about grammar? God.
Sorry, someone say my name?
What?
Fuck.
You said Graham or God. It could have been you, or it could have been God.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
All right, I'm sorry. I can't ask this question. I can't understand it from reading it.
Wait, Lincoln.
Okay,
I got it.
Hang on, I want to make a question off of that though. Like, what about the idea of more passive abilities instead of active abilities? This is something this game discussed a lot, right? Because every unit introduced has a new ability that's an on-active.
Well, I think the idea is, to me anyway, it's more about looking at each thing individually, each new ability, saying oh, what does this add to StarCraft? What does it take away? Is it too much management? Is it too little? How does it work in an RTS? Rather than saying oh my god, this is an active ability, therefore it's bad. This is a passive ability, therefore it's good. Because kind of like counterintuitive. I think a lot of people have been talking about giving Zealot Charge the target ground option for like positioning and flanks and surrounds and things like that.
I think I worry about passive abilities because sometimes they can really influence the game greatly. Like, for example, TVT, you got Marines with stim but no combat shields. This guy's got Marines with combat shields, no stim. Who do you think's gonna win? Well, it's the passive guy most of the time, anyways, as long as there's a medevac involved. Like, it's Adepts as well, right? Their new shield ability gives them like 50 extra shields, passive, not active, and it makes them insanely strong units. Not damage-wise, but they can just take hits for days. Like, I guess it depends on what kind of passive it is, because the only passives in the game right now really are either speed boost or a health boost. Like, what other passive direction could you go?
Oh, I think the old immortal ability would be an example of a passive ability that a lot of people liked. And
they liked it so much they had to change it.
No, not Blizzard. I'm saying just there were a lot of people complaining about, hey, give us back the old immortal ability. I'm not personally in that camp, but I think that would be an example of something like a passive ability like this person might be referring to.
It's a good point.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that question before we move on? Nope. Cool. No, I will not be going to PAX, and this will be our last question. Everyone, what was the first RTS you played, and how old were you? I'll just go around. Jeff, first RTS.
I guess that would be Command and Conquer Gold, which I played when I was like 10 years old. No, 11 probably. Loved it. Great game.
Steven?
I'm not actually sure what it was called. Something on Sega where you like, it might have been Age of Empires. You could get a whole bunch of people together, and the more people you put together, they would like build stuff. Was that Age of Empires? Anybody know?
I don't know.
Not
On
sure.
Sega though? Really?
Yeah.
Damn. I saw StarCraft on Nintendo 64, and that was one of the most shit games ever made. Ever.
Yeah, I did play that. That was awful. I never did it.
The
After
first mission,
try.
we have to get the chrysalid or whatever. We actually just didn't know how to do it. We were like, how the fuck do you grab this chrysalid thing? Couldn't do it.
Jack Attack?
Warcraft 2, Tides of Darkness. I was 8 years old.
That's a great game.
Graham?
Yep. I actually learned how to draw from the fucking book that came in that game. I would just be copying like Chris Messon illustrations, and that's
Nice.
how I learned to get into art and drawing.
I don't know if it was either Warcraft or Shattered Galaxy. I'm not sure which I played first, but those were definitely the two that got me into, well, at least Warcraft got me into Blizzard stuff, so.
Cool. I got my first RTS was StarCraft 2. Heart of the Swarm. That was my first. So.
Holy God.
All right.
Wow.
I have 0 RTS.
Better late
experience
than
before
never,
this.
Lycan.
Dude, I tell you what, I wish I had started Wings of Liberty. I wish, no, actually, I had a friend when we were in Iraq that I wanted to play World of Warcraft. I was playing with like a 500 ping, and he was like, no, you should play StarCraft. You don't have to be online, blah, 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 blah. And I wish I had, because then I would have gotten to Brood War, then I would have been excited for, the expansion to come out, and I would have been there, and maybe I wouldn't be Diamond League. So I think that every day I log on the ladder. So
You guys ready for this? That friend in the military, it was Destro the whole time. Sing. Could have changed his life.
all right. So, so there's one other thing I want to talk about, then we're going to end the show. And this is just me. It's my rant time. I try to not rant too much, so bear with me. Destiny said some things about me that I actually very much considered a compliment. I really did. But when he goes and he talks about Desra, when he brings it up, he compares us. And well, hold on, Steven.
Okay.
I took it as a compliment but one of the things he said that I do disagree with is when Steven said that I won't disparage anyone for the sake of my career and my image and all that. And I want to say that I don't disparage people because I don't do that publicly. If there's someone for me to disparage, I talk to them privately, and then I will talk amongst my friends. I won't feel like a piece of shit talking behind their back because I've already brought it up to their face, and they know exactly how I feel about it. The end of the story. For instance, Desra, the stuff that I laid out and that someone copied and put to the front page, that whole story, right? I told Desro how I felt. The end, period, end of story. And then, talking amongst friends, like, that really pisses me off, But then when someone say, he's a fat fucker, instantly, anyone who's ever said that to me knows that I'll say, don't make those comments. Like, don't say that. There's no need to fucking do that. That doesn't do anything. So the point is that I just don't do that in general. I don't get anything from defending Desro. This week, what I said after I told that story, at the very fucking bottom is the part where I say, But if Desra genuinely wants to change, and I've talked to him, and he really wants to change, he wants to change who he is as a person, I fucking support him 100%, and I hope he does. I've talked to him the past couple days. I've been there to, you know, let him get some stuff off his chest, shit like that, and I'm not getting any benefit from that. Everyone fucking hates Desra on Reddit right now. What do I get from defending Desra? Let's jump back to the very beginning. Let's talk about Winter StarCraft, right? I didn't defend Winter because it was cool. I didn't defend Winter because it was the popular thing to do and I got a ton of followers. No, I got many an unfollower for defending Winter. I gained nothing. I don't work with him. I'm not a friend with him. He gives me no benefit. He doesn't promote me. I defended Winter because I disagreed with the evidence brought against him, and I disagreed with everyone not giving a shit about how they're affecting someone's career just because they wanted to upvote a post, they wanted to share it, they wanted to shit on him. Let's go to Ding It. I defended Ding It because I work with a technology similar to what they offer. Whether or not you like it, I wasn't getting paid by them. I've never asked for a job from them. I wasn't approached by them for a job. I defended Ding It because I felt like what I was defending was the right thing to defend. Then we have the thing with MC and Matalisk, what they signed up for. I was optimistic, and I was wrong. I fully admit it. I was fucking wrong. Destiny and Richard Lewis were there to shit on me and say, you're naive. And you know what? I was. And next time someone comes around...
Which one was this? What did they do?
They're the people
that company that was like, we're gonna do like $10 million in like 2 days of esports or something.
Oh, Vulcan?
No, I'm exaggerating. There was some company that came out. It was like literally ESGN 2.0. They were like, we're gonna do 3 huge tournaments over the course of the next 2 or 3 years. It's gonna have $500,000. Like, does anybody know what I'm talking about?
I didn't know Matalis was on that. Shit.
No. Oh yeah, Matalisk. Yeah, she was their like esports advisor or something like that, and then MC joined as a team member. But the point is that. You know, okay, then let's go with the recent thing, like the Queenie post, right? As soon as I read that post, I'm like, I'm friends with Penguin, I'm friends with Kane. I know that they don't operate their team that way. They're very communicative, they're very supportive of their team members. And lo and behold, I fucking defend them, and someone's like, oh, look, there's Lycan. That the top voted comment was like, look, any dick that presents itself, Lycan will suck it. And I... like, these comments keep getting made, and I tell you what, you want to make a comment that can get under my skin, I don't care that I'm telling people this, that fucking comment bothers the shit out of me because it makes me feel like I'm being disingenuous. And the reason I don't shit on people just because it's cool, the reason I don't take those easy jabs at the low-hanging fruit because it's the flavor of the week, the reason I don't bring that shit to the show and get on here and flame people myself, that might get me a few more viewers, but it's because what the fuck does that do? So anyway, the point is that
you want to wait. Do you want me to answer that?
Right.
Do you want me to actually answer that?
What?
On what it does?
Yeah.
Because I didn't just say that because like I don't care if people are nice or mean about people or whatever, right? That's not the deal. It comes down to this is we're way off. It comes down to an issue of credibility. So to jerk myself off a little bit, if I were to say something on stream, if I were to be like, you know what, and I've said things on stream before, like, Idra in person is actually a really nice guy, or Machine in person is a really nice guy, he really is, or Chef is a really nice dude, or even Jeff, I'm pretty sure I've said, like, in person, is like, he's a pretty nice dude, like, these guys are all nice people, right? When I say that, if somebody hears me say that, I think that people, and I guess, like, you can pull your audience in, but I think that people would hear me say stuff like that, and they would think, like, oh, wow, sure, if Destiny thinks that, and yeah, it probably is, or whatever. And people would say that, and I would have credibility there, right? But the problem is, like, and you kind of just crucified yourself in that whole charade without maybe even realizing it, is that when you support absolutely everybody and everything blindly, at some point people are like, okay, well, here comes Lycan to shill again, like, I feel like it damages your credibility to support everybody, because then when half of those don't pan out, it seems like, well, you're just going to support everybody regardless. So
well, I don't think that it's fair to say that he's supporting everything blindly.
Oh, it's fair to say that he supported everything blindly.
I disagree. But
in what way?
In any case,
how is?
Well, I think the thing is, it looks like he's supporting everything because the things that he doesn't support, he just doesn't talk about. Like, there's that silent section of things he disagrees with.
Anything controversial over the last, like, he brought up, like, so many things. Like, why would you defend a company coming into esports that's purporting to be ESGN 2.0, that's promising, like, they were like, it was like 7 figures of shit over the next 3 years. Like, that's indefensible. But like, Lycan's only defense was, well, I just want to be optimistic. Or how is to bring in stupid shit. How is Desro defensible? How many apologies, public apologies, has Desro made over the past fucking 2, 4, 5 years, and nothing has ever come out? Like that's an indefensible person. Like there's no way that any sane person would ever stake any part of their reputation on defending those things or ding it. Well, a weird kind of shady company that comes out that has a huge show working for the Maddles, who like just everything about it is just so kind of strange and weird, and to constantly defend them over and over again, and to even defend like impossible claims of sending you data.
All right, so let me explain that. When someone says that you can't send lossless UDP, and the company I work for is literally based around an application layer solution for UDP over the open internet, and someone says, no, you can't do that, it's fucking impossible. That's what I'm...
Well, but part of that solution is having a dedicated encoding box or decoding box that's at the consumer house, not just doing that over the internet. Like, that's a whole... But regardless, like, let's say you're right about that. Let's say that you are right about the Dinga thing, okay? I shouldn't have said anything. Let's see, even if you are right about that, the Desper stuff is pretty indefensible. The ESGN stuff is pretty indefensible. Honestly, at this point, I would say that the winner stuff is pretty indefensible. Like, I'm just saying that, like, it's nice to be nice to everybody, like, and to some extent that works. But I would say, what Jack Attack said, I would say that would apply more to somebody like Sheth. I think Sheth was one of those people that, like, if there was nothing good to say about somebody, I think that he just wouldn't make a comment. But there's a difference between, I don't like this, so I'm not going to comment on it, versus I'm going to try to comment optimistically on everything. So, like, this is, you could pull the community on this, because I don't know, right? But the fact that you see comments popping up in threads saying, oh, well, here's Lycan again to show, like, I think that should speak to how much people
and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because
yeah, sure.
It's so the winner thing, right? Well, let's look at that one. The reason I was upset, the reason I spoke out is because I didn't like the way the community was reacting to it. Like, this guy comes out, and I just don't think his evidence was substantial enough to say winner is viewbotting, right? So let's even say that winner viewbotted to get where he is, right, and then stopped. That's a completely different discussion than what was being had. The discussion was that winner is just every day turning on that viewbotter and away he goes. And the evidence that guy provided to me did not justify getting him, to lose his sponsorship with NVIDIA, to, disparage him blatantly on the internet. I just didn't feel there was enough evidence. So I wasn't speaking out saying winner's an upstanding fucking gent. What I was saying is this isn't enough to try to destroy someone's career. And so I could either sit silent and just say, hey, everyone, have your field day with winner, or I have a platform, I have people that do listen to me. I say, hey, obviously no one listened to me, but I can come in and say, hey, maybe you're not acting appropriately about this situation.
So I mean, so go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I want to make sure I'm understanding this right, because I think maybe I'm misunderstanding this part. It sounds like with the Maddles thing, you're saying that you weren't necessarily defending Ding It, but you're saying you're identifying the statements of you can't send blank, and it just happened to get caught up in the Maddles thing. Like, when people kind of sounds like what you're saying is like with the Winter thing is, you're not saying you're defending Winter, but you think it's unfair to blindly persecute someone like this, but it happens to get caught up in the same thing. And the common thing I'm seeing is like, you're kind of doing these very, I would actually agree with points, but you're mixing it up with other points that everyone else disagrees with. So the focus comes down to like, oh, not that Lycan was defending UDP transfers, it's like it's defending fucking Maddles or Winter or so forth. So maybe it's about maybe it's just about better distancing the way you defend these innocent points that are totally not related but end up becoming related.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's about introducing more specificity into the way that you discuss things.
Like, open the post with, by the way, guys, fuck Maddles, but by the way, you can send UDP packets. Like,
oh,
see,
but that's
like, I'm not defending Ding It as an organization.
But I actually hate that. I
even
fucking
but
hate
even
that.
at that, like, I think that I feel like Jack Attack seems kind of Day 9-esque, right? And that Jack Attack seems like a relentlessly positive person, but just because he's very positive about everything, I don't see him showing up in every single controversial thread to try to defend the victim. Or maybe he does, and I haven't seen it, but I don't think he does, because I keep track of most of these threads. Like, I haven't seen like Jack Attack run. I follow everybody on Reddit. I haven't seen Jack Attack run around in every single thread and defend like every controversial thing. So like, if Jack Attack were to come out and say nice things or whatever, like, I'm not thinking like, oh, here's this Jack Attack again. I'd be like, okay, well, it's Jack Attack is he's doing his thing, but you don't run around and intentionally like try to be relentlessly optimistic about things that are even, I don't want to say clear cut, but are leaning like really badly in the other direction. Whereas if people see you do it a lot, it makes it hard to value your opinion, or it feels like, okay, well, Lycan's going to show up and defend this person no matter what, so I can immediately discredit anything he says because he's defended all these other things in the past that haven't panned out or have been horrible.
Yes, I think you're making a very valid point. Yeah, No, I agree with what you're saying. So I mean, so what do I do? I make my point one time, and that's it, the end, and just let the community do their thing, or do
Well,
I?
I think you just use more specific language when you're speaking about specific things, and don't just. I think it's a very natural thing for people to try to overgeneralize what's going on into like something that's binary or something that's more simple. Like here's Lycan defending Dingit, not Lycan has this background and he's discussing this particular topic, because that takes too long to say. It's not as shareable and it doesn't get around all over the place. But yeah, I think introducing more specificity into the way that you speak about things is going to help a lot. And I think that speaking about it here was helpful to the 2,000 or so people that are watching.
Well, so I think that some of the times that doesn't get, and we're gonna wrap this up soon, but I think that doesn't. All right, so in the Dingit threads, right? Someone would say Dingit is doing X, Y, and Z. It's a terrible program, and I would say you do know this is a beta, right? You do know there are people that, you know, despite being downvoted as shit, are actually not having an issue with Dingit, and that would get fuck you, you're a shill. Of course you're here defending Mattles, or Dingit, and you know, they would say, you know, it can't do this, and someone would argue with me, and I'd say no. I understand that you're thinking about this way, but it's apparent you're not aware of this technology existing. And then it was just fuck you, and because there was the circle jerk of the week, nothing I say would permeate. That's why I was always there, trying to take every opportunity I could to
Sure.
generate
So-
some sort of objective discussion.
We could run this as an experiment, right? Because maybe it would be really interesting for you. But like, I'm pretty sure that you could give me a comment that you want to make on a Dingit thread, and then I could run and post that, and the responses would be overwhelmingly positive.
That's like-
And they'd be like, I'm not joking. This
No,
is
I
one
agree. I
of the reasons
100%
why, like, there's
agree.
so much social like theory and ideology on like how this works, right? This is a whole founding principle behind 4chan, right? We should judge you based on the content of your posts, not on what the fuck your avatar is or what your username is. Like, that's bullshit. We're just going to judge you based on each and every post, right? That's the whole idea behind 4chan, right? But what's happening on Reddit is it almost sounds like you're looking at each of these scenarios as though they're occurring in a vacuum, when in reality what's happening is, well, people are seeing that it's supposed by Lycan, they remember every single thing you've defended in the past, and now they don't give a fuck what you're saying. Like, your content becomes almost irrelevant because they just know that Lycan is saying it, so they don't give a fuck, you know?
I agree, and that's something I've thought about, is that, you know, I don't like the idea that because I've been, you know, what I perceive to be just objective in a lot of these cases, and I've been so adamant about defending my objectivity and what I believe is right and wrong, that it has come to discredit my opinion. And I think overall with this, the biggest thing is that I just wanted to clarify that I don't do what I do with an end goal in mind. I don't defend these things. I don't not disparage people publicly because I want them to be on my good side. I don't do it because that's not how I operate. And I'm not trying to get anything. Companies, you know, at the top of esports have said, hey, you should apply for this position. Hey, you should apply for that. So if I was trying to suck dick to get, you know, inside Blizzard or ESL, guess what? I've already had those opportunities offered to me. But if I took them, I wouldn't be able to sit here and do this stream and run the tournaments I do and all that. So at this point, I feel like I'm just being me. The end. God, that sounds like a basic bitch thing to say, but I am. And if you still don't believe it, all right, cool, we'll move on from here. But I just want to make the statement that I say what I mean. And if I tell you what, if someone like really just deserves to get laid out in public, I might consider doing it. Maybe. Depends how I'm feeling. But that's it for me.
Upon that day, when you like rip someone a new one, like in like the sheer utter depth of negativity on Reddit, like everyone is going to believe, like, holy shit, like Lycan is always positive. This one dude actually
Must
pissed
have
him off
really
so
fucked
much. Like, how awful is this dude that he would piss off Lycan?
That's
I
a
thought your little Destro rant was ironic. I kept looking for the punchline.
Oh, boy.
I invite him on the show, and then he couldn't do it, and then he made his own show. I was like, damn.
I mean, all right, so let's all right. So look, I get that having a show isn't an original idea, right? The thing that bothered me is that I'm going through all the rigmarole to make the show happen, and I invite him to be a part of the show, and just without any word, without saying, hey man, you inspired me and I decided I wanted to start my own show, because he had openly said, I am not starting a show. I have no intention to start a show. Sure, I'll be part of your show. But then he knows when I'm getting ready to launch my show, he knows like within the coming weeks I'm going to launch this, and then he does it. I feel like I am not in the wrong for being a little offended by that.
You can be a little offended, sure, but people are offended by like the word, bitch and stuff. So I mean, there's any scale. Like in this case, He said, I can't be on the show if Destiny's on the show. And then you go to him and you say, all right, well, Destiny's on the show. And he goes, okay, maybe next time. And then in those 2 weeks, he was like, I guess I kind of like the idea of being on a show. So he
he made that verification the day before that he launched the fucking show.
I don't know the whole story. I'm not going to defend it.
Wait, he said that he wouldn't do it if I was on it.
It was because it was during that Tiger
Lily. It's in his
Lily.
rant, Steven. You're supposed to read Reddit. Anyways.
Wait, during what Tiger Lily stuff?
The,
This is like,
the,
oh, no,
yes,
the other stuff.
dick
Never mind.
pic
Okay,
shit.
okay.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So we're not
I
gonna...
don't know. You have the right to be offended, but I was just laughing because it was like all this drama's all over the place, and then Lycan's like, "Wait, guys, all right, I got one too." And then I read it, and I kept like,
so the reason
I was giggling to myself as I read it because I was like, "Oh, Lycan's being funny," and then I got to the end, I was like, "Oh, wait, he's being serious. This is the backstab story for Lycan." Like, that's like adorable. I made a show, and then he made a show.
I support you, like, and I think
thanks,
a
guys.
big fucking bully right now.
Okay? I posted so here's the thing is that taking everything into consideration, I posted the story because I thought, hey, if I say something, that I had a problem with Desra, so when I say I hope he fucking changes and I wish him the best and, I'll give him this chance, there's a little more substance to it. It's not just, oh, here's Lycan fucking being nice again. It's Lycan fucking had his issues with this guy too. And
yes. I liked it in the, like, it came off as very, like, Brady Bunch. Like, that's how I saw it. Like, it was like...
Marsha.
It was like, gee willikers, mister. Like, you just the word darn in our household, and the Lord Jesus Christ told us that word is too damn close to the word damn, and we don't use that. And I was just like, oh, like, and I could see you in a yellow turtleneck sweater, like, like, here's my story, kids, of the time Destro stabbed me in the back. And it was adorable. I'm not, it's not terrible.
Okay. One last...
You can be offended. It's fine.
Graham, did you have something to say?
No.
Okay, someone was saying let Graham talk.
That was like, Graham, you got something to say? You got something to say to me?
Shit,
all right?
Starting.
All right, one last thing is about the WCS thing. Because someone, after I said, I'm not trying to get in those positions, they're like, well, you just got fucking WCS. I got that through networking, and I didn't try to get a caster position. I tried to get a host position. They were like, hey, do you want to, just like the stars fucking aligned, and everyone was busy that week, and they're like, well, shit. Like, I guess fucking Lycan can come here and do something. Like, so, it wasn't from I got talked to about that before I made the nice post after the summit. And then someone makes a comment and says, Lycan is just shilling to get something good out of Blizzard. And I commented to it. I'm like, I can't say why just yet, but this comment is going to seem really valid in about a week. And then they, announced it and blah, blah, blah. So anyway.
So I put this out there, and I just want to say this again really quick, because this is just on Lycan's topic of casting. Like, yo, that guy put, like, shout out to Lycan. He put like 110% effort into preparing for that. Like, he knew he wasn't going to be like an all-star going into it. He was grilling me and other casters and shit, like trying so hard to get ready for that. So I know it's not exactly super on topic, but just shout out for like the dedication, man. Like, it wasn't the greatest cast.
We don't use the word dedication. We use the word passion.
Sorry, passion. My bad.
Thank you.
Yo, respect for the preparation, man.
Thanks, buddy. I sucked Graham's dick, and that's why he said this about me. Full disclosure.
Yeah, that face I made earlier, guys. Like,
no.
Cool. All right. Does anyone have anything else before we go to goodbyes?
Were you gonna say something, Rifkin? Do you want to say something right now?
You got something to say, Rifkin. You say it to my face. You say it right here.
Cool. All right. Rifkin, do you have something to say to people before you fucking get off the stream? God damn it.
I got something to fucking say. I've been holding this back the whole goddamn time. Ticket sales are available for Hell It's a Good Time. If you guys want to purchase some, check them out on Eventbrite. That's it. I got it. Thanks for having me on. Like, it was fun hanging out, dude.
I love you.
You owe me Archon mode, by the way. That's my last words here. What the fuck, man? After work,
I forgot.
We'll play
I forgot.
after work.
I'm so sorry.
No, fuck you, dude.
Later. All right. Jack Attack, thank you for coming. By the way, everyone, Twitters are under people's faces, so if you want to go follow them, please do so. But Jack Attack, what's going on with you? What are you up to? And where can people find your content?
Most of the stuff I can't talk about. I live at the CSN house with Polt, Violet, and Stardust. I'm working on the CSN training camp, working on a website for StarCraft, and a variety of other CSN things. That will be coming out soon. TM. If you want to follow my stuff, it's Jack Attack TV, youtube.com/Jack Attack TV, twitter.com/Jack Attack TV, facebook.com/Jack Attack TV, bandcamp.com/Jack Attack TV, and every other Jack Attack TV you could even possibly imagine. I started doing a music stream. For those of you who are not aware, my background is in music. I was a touring musician throughout the United States for a year and a half. I did 3 American tours. I did 2 European tours.
What kind of music?
Punk rock. The band was called Prayers for Atheists. Feel free to check it out, prayersforatheists.com. I don't do that anymore, but I really enjoy doing music stuff, so you can check me out at twitch.tv/Jack Attack Music if you want to hang out with the other half of Jack Attack.
He has a Wikipedia page, so it's pretty legit. Well, the band does. I don't know if Jack Attack does. But either way. Cool, man.
The term to Muslim replay analysis. Look at a Wikipedia page, man.
I wonder if it was taken down
already. If you
already.
dream it, you can literally make it.
Cool. All right, Jeff, thank you for being the co-host, as always. What's going on with you?
I wanted to share my story of Lycan stabbing me in the back. A few weeks ago, he asked me to be a co-host, and I was like, sure, man. And then since then, I still don't have any place in the entry to the show. Someone was just checking the bot, and in the chat, it literally only lists Destiny and Lycan as the 2 hosts. So basically, he is. I feel like this is exactly slavery. Like I think it's pretty much exactly the same thing.
Desro's intro updates for all the guests he has on it.
Desro is, yep. Say what you will, but he's a considerate content creator, and that's why it is the best StarCraft 2 talk show that you can have. Joking aside, no, it's a good conversation. I enjoy it. I had a headache, but I don't feel pain, and that means that this conversation was literally not Hitler or cancer, so that's good by internet standards. I will be at Gfinity this coming weekend alongside Huck and Stefano, and assuming I have a job afterwards, I'll be happy, so you guys should tune in and check it out. There's a lot of StarCraft this weekend. I think IEM is doing some stuff, and then the fucking International's going on in Gamescom, so like you should have your Hydra computer set up where you have all these screens and monitors, and one of them should be Gfinity. It'll be fun. And the week after that is WCS. Excited to see what goes on there. I may or may not be casting. I don't even know if they're going to announce who is not the casters. I may or may not be on that. Fucking know how this works, but you should probably check it out. And then for my stuff, just, I've already pimped out all my stuff a million freaking times, but just please do all follow. And if actually all 2,500 you can subscribe to my channel, that'd be great, because then
I should ask for that. Damn it.
I would have 1/10 as many subscribers as Summit, who I get so envious of every time I watch him stream. He got 300 subs yesterday.
How many subs does he have?
He has over 10,000. I can't remember.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
On Twitch?
The guy is actually, yeah. He jumps into a silo of golden coins like every night. There's no other way to describe it. I'm just kidding. But anyways, check out our content. Thanks for tuning in. And check out Gfinity and WCS next week.
I literally cannot fathom having that many subscribers. Anyway, thank you, Jeff, for coming on. I'm really happy to have you. I am appreciative. I am getting the intro updated. I am. It's being animated. It's just taking a long time because the person who animates it is a very busy person.
Sure.
Steven.
Yeah.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great.
For those who don't know, Steve and I are getting married so he can have a Roth IRA. Currently, he makes too much money. He can't start one, so we need to get hitched for him to fix that. But sorry for taking your thunder. What else is going on with you, Steven?
I'm just kind of playing a lot of Hearthstone, top decking, getting top decked, and that's pretty much all that's going on right now. That dirty passion still money.
I tell you what, chat. I think
Yeah?
that if Destiny wanted to tell the Day 9 story, the day that he was telling every story he had in his back pocket,
Can we just
he would have done it.
Probably would've said
So
it.
we're not getting it. Where can people find you, Steven?
You can find me over on my website at www.destiny.gg. Also, you can find me at my Twitter at twitter.com/Steven with a V _Bonnell BONNELL.
I don't know.
My YouTube is youtube.com/Destiny. Jack Attack! Why haven't you participated in any of my composition challenges, mate?
Yep.
Oh man, I didn't even know that was going on. I
Well-
apologize for not following you as much. I tend to be pretty busy, but I would love to do that for sure.
Every month or so, I put out a little musical idea, and then my fans remix it, rearrange it, and then we have a community vote, and then I choose one, and they win I think last time we did $75 for first in each, and then $50 for first in each. The next one we're doing is
Sick.
going to be a big one, where it's probably going to be $500 to the community winner and $500 to my favorite winner. So yeah, you should definitely keep your eyes
I
open.
gotta
for
go
that.
buy Sibelius, man.
Jack
It's like
Attack doesn't
all
even
three
get out of bed
freeware
for less
stuff
than
is
a
off.
mil.
Alright. Sibelius submissions probably won't make the cut, but it's okay. We welcome any and all challengers, and the music is beautiful, and all of you people are beautiful, and
And you're
yeah, I
beautiful,
think that's
Steve.
all. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Cool. Are any of you guys going to stream after this?
No,
No.
I'm doing a
streaming
D&D
Passion
show
Stone.
in an hour and a half.
What'd you say, Steven?
I'm streaming Passion Stone.
Well, maybe we'll host your Passion Stone because you host
Thanks.
us. It was funny as you're reading off all your stuff. I'm thinking, like 90% of these viewers are yours anyway. So
Not 90%.
Freaking
That's not
Destiny and his
necessarily
Hearthstone
true.
obsession, by the way. He's got to go ruin Nadia for me. God damn it.
What? How do I ruin Nadia?
Because her channel was so chill, dude, and now it's always fucking you host her and it gets full of bullshit like right away.
I've hosted her like twice. You're making me sound thirsty as fuck. Why
Thank
you
you for
blowing
the
the
host.
spotlight like
Thank
this
you
on
for the
stream?
host
Holy
today, by
fuck!
the way.
what's that?
Rifkin. They straight hosted me. Very nice. Very nice. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, I hosted you. You should be thanking
Yo,
me
you know
right
what?
now. What the
Hang
fuck?
on, no, you hosted me when I was fucking playing the game, not casting, mister. Oh, you only cast tournaments.
But that's. Well, see, I'm trying to support.
Whoa,
you
whoa,
as a
whoa. He
real
just got
streamer
his
so
jimmies
that-
unrusselled. Don't get him
I'm
back.
trying to
Russell.
support you so you can become a real streamer, so that the next time I get into an argument with shit control, you can fucking defend me instead of taking his fucking side, mate.
Oh,
Alright.
you're so nice, Destiny. I didn't know that's
Yeah,
what
you're
you're
welcome.
doing.
Look,
Thank
yeah,
you.
but see, unlike Lycan, I'll admit that everything that I do, there's a fucking purpose. Okay? You better believe the fucking cogs
Oh,
are turning.
I
I'm gonna host you
fucking
for fucking free, mate. Okay, you better believe that these favors are gonna come back around. So when I ask you for shit in the future, all right, when you're doing your little fucking live cast bullshit and you magically have 100,000 viewers and I'm streaming Hearthstone, you better fucking believe I'm getting a host at the end of that. Shit's gonna fucking happen, mate. You're gonna fucking you think I made all those DDoS guides? You don't think I made some enemies doing that shit? There's a lot of money in DDoS in your fucking tournaments. You better watch your fucking back, son. All right.
Jesus Christ. I actually.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
This the end. Thank you guys for coming in. Jack Attack's gone. You all have a good night. We're gonna host Steven and his Hearthstone shit. So you all have a good night, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye.